And we are live. Welcome to About That Life podcast / Coach's Rise Time, where we talk a little bit of basketball in between. For you guys who've been rocking with me since the beginning, I appreciate you. Audio side's doing really good. YouTube, do the HBO special, help a brother out. Help me make that algorithm go up. Please like and share. It's much appreciated. Got a good show for you. Got 2 officials, collegiate, high school, and a lot of good information for this episode. Hopefully you parents, you kids, everybody listen, check this out. We're going to have a lot of clips for you, shorten it up, and get them out there for you as well so people can digest the things we're teaching. But we should have a good episode for you coming right now.
Turn it up.
From the YBA Phoenix Fitness 24/7 basketball facility in Rockland, California, it's Coach's Rise Time with Coach C. Collins.
Get it started. 3, 2, 1.
Coach's Rise Time.
Hey, I'm Coach C. Collins. Welcome to Coach's Rise Time / Bout That Life. We got a nice little hybrid episode for you guys because unfortunately Mark couldn't be here. Shout out to him. He is in San Diego doing his thing with GGT Productions. So I'm anchoring this show, but the biggest thing is we have 2 really cool guests that I've known for quite a while and worked around these guys, especially in the basketball field. For a lot of you guys who know, I coach, I run this AAU program over here called YBA, one of the co-directors, and do all the travel ball and all that good stuff. So having these brothers on the show is a really cool thing because, for one, you parents need to hear this information because you think you know and you don't. 2, you kids need to know this information because you think you know and you don't. And 3, coaches, we need the information because we think we know and we don't. So, and especially I'm glad to have them here because we're really trying to, and me personally, I'm always vested in trying to help the basketball community. We want more young coaches. We want more young officials. We want, people stepping up and wanting to take these roles. And the best way to do it, I think, is to use my platform to get some of that information out there. But before we get to them, let me give a shout out to my sponsors. Shout out to Dr. Dish, best shooting machine on the market. They have all kind of models, whether you're looking for the home edition, all-star edition, Rebel. They have your needs. They have your budget. Go ahead, tell them About That Life podcast sent you. They will shoot you a discount. And also, if you're looking for AAU, rec league, anything competitive, or just to get your kid out there playing basketball, sign up for Hardwood Palace. They have 8 courts. When they use our facility, they have 11 courts. They always have tournaments every weekend, all year round. If you have any basketball needs, holler at Steve or Grant. They'll hook you up at Hardwood, and they should be able to help you out. So without further ado, let me get to my guests. Again, I've alluded to, these brothers have been around basketball, been officiating basketball. We're going to get into who they are. And, the format of this show is going to be kind of different in terms of I want to do a lot of learning. I want a lot of information to be out here, so at least it's said. And like my producer, Johan, he's going to chop it up into different segments for you guys. Obviously, if you're listening on the audio side, please rewind, listen to it again, digest it. I want you guys to get perspective from 2 high-level officials who've been around the game, who've seen the game a long time, and can give you guys some good insight. So without further ado, let me introduce Victor Horton and Sport Barclay. Right? I want to make sure I say that right. I always say that right. All right, perfect.
That was easy.
Appreciate you guys being here. Appreciate you being here. So let's get right into it. Let's get insight into who you guys are. You could tell us, your basketball background, how long you've been officiating, playing basketball. If you played AAU, what was your AAU team, high school teams, all that stuff. You start with either one of you guys, but you let the audience know who you are.
Go ahead, Sport. You go ahead first.
Okay. Cool. Sport Barclay. I've been around the Sacramento area for a long time. Mm-hmm. And, with a name like Sport, it's kind of hard to not remember that name. Right. So I played, obviously, AAU growing up. Back when I was here, you had Salvation Army. Mm-hmm. You had the Kevin Johnson League. So it was a little different. You didn't have all this other AAU ball. It was everything. Everybody was there. If you didn't come there, you didn't play. We didn't respect your game. And then obviously you played in high school with the Hiram Johnson West Campus back when they were 2 separate campuses. Now they're the same campus. And then, just started refereeing probably maybe 5-7 years. I've been refereeing about 20 years now.
Nice.
At the high school level, I did junior college, Division III, Division II. Made it to Division I. I've done men's pro-am, I've done women's pro-am. I serve as a women's professional league referee right now, out of a league that's out of the Bay Area. So
Nice.
I refereed from California to Florida to Texas, Arizona. I mean, just everywhere in between. I've been all over. So,
All right.
I've done AAU stuff, Adidas 64. I mean, I got a long resume. I've been around it for a while. So, and I just got a passion for this stuff. So thank you for having us.
No, anytime, brother. And what about you, Vic?
Yeah, Vic Horton, basically from SAC as well. I didn't do AAU when I was younger neither. I think I did NJB when it first started, and Nike League.
Nice.
I do remember Nike.
And just playing, I went to Valley High School and played with, did that stuff at Valley, and then played a little bit JC ball, and then got into officiating. Believe it or not, Sport, Rob, and my friends.
So y'all started around the same time?
They got a head start on me, but 'cause I was still trying to live out my dreams at min leagues playing basketball. I didn't want to be a basketball cop for the longest. But,
Right.
Kind of went out and at Salvation Army, worked some game, made a little money. I was like, I like this. A little money. So this is my 11th year, and 9 of the 11 years been varsity, and went to the next level, JUCO level, women's side for the CVC for 3 years. But I decided to just stick to high school because I enjoy giving back to high school, and high school is just great.
All right,
So.
good.
It is.
Good. It's good. It's good to hear you guys say that.
Really is.
So I want you guys to talk about the shirts you guys are wearing.
Okay.
Right. If you guys can't see it on camera, well, I'll let you guys describe it. I don't want to jump the gun here, but speak about what that is, what that organization is. Your guys' role in it. All that stuff.
Absolutely.
Please do.
Well, myself and Vic recently were selected as co-group leaders over the basketball officials group here in Sacramento, which there's 2 groups kind of in the area in this CIF, the San Joaquin section. You have NCOA North and NCOA South.
Oh, and sorry for my audio guys. What does NCOA stand for? Because if they're listening to the audio side,
I appreciate it. And I don't like to be like one of them guys that's just dropping all like the little lingo.
Right.
Like, people's like, I don't know what he's talking about.
Exactly.
I don't understand. So Northern California Officials Association.
Yep.
So, and then there's a North and a South because our group really covers everything from Galt up to Rockland. I mean, we go
Plus,
far.
people, because keep in mind that people that even listen to my podcast, it's California is my biggest listeners, but honestly, it gets listens all around the country, so
Really?
they don't necessarily realize how big California is, right? You know what I mean?
And it's interesting because I've been up to, not to digress, but I've been up to Humboldt, right? And so I was up there, and they're like, "Hey, where you from?" I'm like, "Northern California," and they're like, "Well, like where exactly?" I'm like, "Oh, well." In the Sacramento, they're like, well, no, that's kind of central because you drive another 6 hours.
Right, they don't realize how big our state is.
We're still in here, so I think this is Northern California. It's like, oh yeah, maybe I'm Central California, but
right.
So NCOA is the official association. This is our logo. Obviously, it has more than just basketball. Our expertise is specific to basketball, but it has volleyball, football, lacrosse. I mean, there's other sports. And the logo, it's kind of a rebranding that we're doing, actually. Really an effort to kind of get out there and reach the community, to be a bit more personable. And so this logo kind of reps it. It's got the Tower Bridge on there. It's got the bear, because we're from California.
Of course.
And then it's got some stripes, a whistle. And then it just says NCOA. And part of that is we didn't want to have something that's specific just to basketball, because really an official is an official, and the skills that you have, whether it's in basketball, lacrosse, they really cross every platform, they really cross every sport.
Right.
So so this is the logo that kind of just represents all of the officials in the NCOA. We're just here specifically representing basketball.
Yeah, you're on a basketball podcast, so it makes sense. And then so are basically you two like ambassadors for it all, or you kind of the director / ambassadors, just trying to, get people aware of it and things like that? If I have it correct.
You could say that.
Okay.
There's a term.
Okay. Just making sure. Making sure I introduce it correctly. Yeah. Okay. So you know, obviously that's your background. So let's get straight into it. You guys have coached AAU, right? My show is primarily geared towards AAU, mainly. But we talk about NBA, college, high school, because it all is one big hamster wheel. It all feeds into itself. And obviously the NBA is the top, like, and that's a whole nother animal. Just so people understand who are listening and checking this out, mainly what we're going to be gearing towards this episode is mainly going to be towards college and high school. Obviously, we'll talk a little bit about NBA stuff, but there's a million podcasts talking about NBA. I try to keep mine more about the high school and the collegiate side because there's more high school and college players than NBA players, right? And I think this episode is going to be really value for people to get that information, you know what I mean, on a bigger scale. So just understand when we're talking about a lot of this, we're not talking about the NBA. We're mainly going to be talking about college and high school. So with you guys being around AAU, watching it evolve, same as I have. Obviously, I'm on the coach / business side of it, right? Because of what YBA essentially is a business and the business of basketball. I want you guys to speak on good points, bad points, you know, whether it's the perspective of an official, whether it's a perspective of a former player, whether it's a perspective of just a fan of the game. I just want your guys' overall take of AAU basketball as a whole.
I think AAU basketball, it has a place, just like I think all basketball has a place. It's obviously provided a platform for people to get game reps, right?
Yeah.
Which is really what we all need, right? And I think in that regard, it's been valuable. It's given, I think, folks an opportunity to kind of test themselves out amongst other types of players that maybe you wouldn't have if you stayed in your neighborhood,
right?
You know, so to speak. So I think there's a lot of value for it. Now, there's a lot of AAU basketball, so because of that, you know, to a certain degree, you know, you wonder if we're getting quality, you know, over the quantity, you know, in that regard. And plus, obviously, that means there's a demand for what? Basketball officials, which is kind of where we come in. So I think AAU plays a role because it provides an opportunity, a platform for a lot of officials to get some reps before we get to an actual structured area, which is the high school or the collegiate area.
Right.
So.
And what about you, Vic?
Again, I think it's just great that they have a platform for basketball. The reps are important. As an official, it is a good platform for us to get games and reps in. The positives, I believe, if you can do AAU basketball, you could jump into high school basketball because there are things that you might not see in high school games that go on AAU basketball stuff. But in terms of the negative side that I see, I just see it as for officials, it is at times could be just a money grabber, and for tournament directors, assigners, or anything else, it makes it easier if somebody said I can do 10 games because it's just take care of that corner.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
you're good, but not realizing that it's not fair to the teams and the players, the coaches, and even the official, because if you're really truly working hard,
10 games,
1 game, 2 games, mentally, physically, we're done.
Yeah.
I mean, imagine as a coach, right?
Yeah.
If you had to coach 10 straight games, like, you know what I mean? Like, by the third or fourth one,
you're not going to be as sharp. It's not going to be.
You know what I mean? Exactly. Like, you calling plays, but it's like, hey, y'all know what's going on.
Right.
You know, you're not up fiery, you know, into it, because it takes a level of focus, you know? And so I think that's the quality over quantity, is sometimes that space can not be used properly by an official if they're not there for all the right reasons.
Okay. And then, I wanted to speak on your guys' experience, and again, you talk
like
cumulatively,
my stories or like
a little bit of both.
Oh, okay.
We're going to talk about stories. We're going to talk about all of it, but it's like, so because I want the audience to understand, like, when you guys are officiating different levels, obviously, this is the first thing we got to let's lay some groundwork for people to understand. Let's have some objective groundwork. one thing that I think they are, and you guys correct me if I'm wrong on this. This is just my interpretation and my belief. So the first thing people need to understand is different age groups, like let's say grades, are going to be officiated different. You're not going to officiate a group of fourth graders the same way you're going to officiate a varsity high school game. You know what I mean? Because obviously kids are less coordinated. There's going to be a lot of travels, a lot of jump balls, a lot, like fourth grade girls. You're not going to officiate, you know, as a varsity state championship game, right? So we need to understand that, and this is mainly I'm talking about you audience. You need to understand that it's not one and the same. Two, officials, yes, there's black and white rules, but they are to the interpretation of the official. Right, like
not necessarily. It's a more of an art. You know? And I think so. You know, the rule says, as an example, right, in order to establish legal guarding position, right, whether you took a charge, right, you got to have a couple of things. You got to have 2 feet, you know, on the ground, torso facing the defender, right,
facing the offense.
Facing the offense. I'm sorry, my apologies. Facing the offense, right.
Yeah.
There's no interpretation in that.
Right. True.
That's what the rule says.
Right.
Now, if I'm late to the play, if I'm not using proper eye discipline, eye sequence, then I might be late in viewing that play, and thus I might make maybe not the correct decision on that particular play.
Okay.
But it's really because of the work that it takes to get it right. That work wasn't done properly. Okay. You know, more than anything else. If that makes sense.
No, it does. Absolutely. And we're going to talk. We are going to go like point by point, talking about like travels, charges, you know, hand checking, how to play defense. I want to talk about all that stuff.
How to play defense. Don't touch nobody.
Yeah, exactly. We're going to talk all this because again, we know just being around this sport, and especially again being on the AAU side, there's just a lot of people that I don't think they understand what they're looking at. And sometimes I even think people forget it's a contact sport. That was the third thing I was going to say is, we have to understand and agree that basketball is a contact sport. It's not a collision sport. That's football, okay? But it's a contact sport. So I think, because again, you guys know as well as I do. You know, you hear this term from probably coaches and parents all the time. That's a foul. That's a foul.
I've heard that.
Yeah. You might have heard that, right? And I even have to tell my parents sometimes. And Vic, you've reffed enough of my games. You probably heard me scream this. I have to tell my kids, right, you foul, or you fouled him. Like, that's a foul. That's the right call. Like, shut up. Stop arguing. You know what I mean? I have to tell my kids or even my parents that, like, he made the right call, y'all. Shut up. Like, leave it alone. Like, so it's some of this groundwork I want to lay out because
I get it.
And to be fair, I am going to represent. So when we go through this stuff, I'm going to be the guy that's pushing back. I'm going to represent the coaches. You guys represent the officials. I'm going to play devil's advocate and, you know, speak on the coach's behalf per se. But again, I really have learned and forced myself to learn the way you guys see the game. So that's how come a lot of times I think I see the things the same way you guys see it. That's why a lot of the times I won't push back on too much. If anything, when I yell at my kids. I don't yell at officials. Everybody knows I'm a hard ass coach. I yell at my kids. But with officials, very very limited times I try to push back with what they're doing. I try to ask questions.
I agree.
Right? I try to ask
you
questions.
are one of those that ask questions.
Like I just say, hey, what did you see? You know, because and again, even if we disagree, I say, hey, we disagree, and I move on. You know, but that's me. But I'm gonna try to be. I'm going to try to be the other coaches. I'm going to try to take my hat off and be somebody else.
Okay, no problem.
So, you know, with your guys' experience, I just want to talk about some of the fundamental differences that you guys might look for when, let's say, you're coaching, again, like some fifth grade boys and, you know, some varsity high school athletes. What are maybe, 2 to 3 things you fundamentally are looking for that might be different?
I think the first thing is obviously their at the lower level, their ability to control their bodies is not the same, right? A varsity guy, if he's going to the basket, he may have the ability to stop, jump in the air, maybe contort his body in a particular way to get off a particular shot. Fourth grader, if he jumps in the air, like, he's
lucky if he lands
or he come back down. Like there ain't a whole bunch he's actually doing. And so in that regard, it can be easier to referee, the little the younger kids, but I think sometimes again it's an art at every level, right? We always talk about what it looks like to the fans, to the coaches. Our whistles should somewhat reflect what's happening on the game. If we're getting a lot of questions, it could be that what we're calling, what we think we're seeing, may not be what everyone else is seeing. Now, I will say, referees look at the defense. That's one of the biggest things that people don't. We're supposed to.
Right.
We struggle with ball watching.
Right. I mean, it's human. It's human nature. You can't help but.
Our discipline is referee the defense, because the rule is very clear. The defense has certain things that it's not supposed to do. And so as long as it doesn't do those things, then in theory, there wasn't anything wrong with the defense. Right. So if we referee the defense, that gives us a better opportunity to hopefully see it the way the fans see it. Now, fans, they have the better viewpoint in certain regards. Like I tell people, go sit in the stands, and we watch in the stands.
Right.
You got,
and you got a lot more eyes.
Right. You got big time camera angle, down here on the floor. There's angles. Things are moving. It's about finding the right positioning, fighting for what we call open looks, so we can actually see contact as opposed to assuming. Mm-hmm. All right. I like to say being right for the wrong reasons.
Yeah.
Right. You didn't see it, but his body language, all the reaction is like, man, he got hit. So you put a whistle on it. Right.
Right.
We might be right, but not for the right reasons.
Right.
You know what I mean? Because
Ted mentioned that too. Not to cut you off, but because I've had officials on my show like Ted. Shout out to him.
Yeah. Shout out to Ted.
Shout out to Jules. I've had her on. Tremaine Folks. He's been on my show, and just in normal talking, Ted he's so philosophical. Yep. So he he said he was like, it's a cardinal sin. You got to call what you see. You know what I mean? I'm like, who says that? But yeah, shout out to Ted.
That sound like Ted, though.
Exactly.
Ted. If you know Ted, that sound like Ted.
Vic, you got anything to add to that point, or?
Yeah. So also with the fans, they're not trained to referee the defense.
Right.
They're trained to watch the ball.
They're trained to watch the ball. So
look at that.
That is what's interesting. So everybody go see what the offensive player is doing, and the offensive player may flop his head or may do something.
Sell it, right?
Yeah, sell it. And fans are going to let us know that we missed the call.
Politely.
Yeah,
of course. Right. Politely, let us know.
Excuse me, sir.
Yeah.
Pass the Grey Poupon. Please call the next foul.
Stop the cap.
Right.
Yeah, exactly. Just like that.
So I said this in our camp a couple weeks ago in terms of I have like 4 commandments of officiating that I kind of go by.
Nice.
And
we're going to clip this, so please say.
And one is definitely like sports say, we referee the defense, because like I said, like sports said, if they're not doing anything that's illegal, normally it won't cause a problem, right? Mm-hmm. Second is there's usually 2 or 3 people 2 officials on the court. We mainly AAU, and most of the high school seasons two person. Mm-hmm. So that other person that's your partner, we have to trust that he's gonna take care of he or she's responsibility, and trust that they're gonna make the right call or whatever they see. We gotta trust we have to trust that they're doing the right thing. Mm-hmm. Another one is, so I said, referee the defense, trust your partner. Mm-hmm. We have terminology that we have to do as referees, that we stay in our primary coverage area. So we try to, I know we've heard referees say, that's not my area. That's not true.
Right. There is some truth to what they're getting at.
Right.
But that doesn't, there's another side to that.
Right.
If that makes sense.
So we are responsible for certain parts of the court, and we have to trust that we must stay in our primary area. And then the last one is call the obvious stuff. So we majority get the obvious stuff that fans see, coaches see, the players see. Pretty much, I think we'll have a pretty good game.
I agree.
But and they kind of fall in line with each other. If you trust your partner, you don't have to worry about overcalling or making calls that he may not see or she may see. So throw your partner on the bus, so you're kind of on the same page. If you stay in your primary, that means you're actually trusting your partner because you're responsible for your part. If we're refereeing defense, we're focused on the defense that, anything that's illegal that the defense may cause, we put a whistle on it. And then if we call the obvious, like I said, it's just obvious stuff that everybody sees. So I think if we follow those 4 commandments, there may be more.
Right.
But those primary ones keep us out of trouble.
Okay. No, I like that. I want to segue into you mentioning that, positioning for officials, right? Again, and let's assume it's a 2-person, right?
Okay.
Because obviously that's the majority of AAU and school ball and things like that. Obviously 3-person is great, but most of it's 2. Balls. Here's the scenario I'm painting. Balls up top.
Okay.
Guards dribbling.
Above the 3-point line?
Yeah, above the 3-point line. Guards up top. Or we'll say chest crosses half court.
Okay. Because referees want specifics.
Yes, no,
you can be
exactly.
like, I need.
Yeah, no, I'm going to give you very specific. So, kid chest crosses half court, center of the court, right? 1 defender on them. They're a man defense.
Okay.
The top official.
That is the trail.
The trail. What is that person looking for? Looking at, I shouldn't say looking for, looking at, just so the audience can understand what that official is observing or trying to keep an eye on.
Well, we talked about the first thing we're looking at is the defense. But again, there's people playing defense and there's people just standing on the court, right? So what we're really looking for is a competitive matchup in a particular primary area. And so for the trail official, which is the official that's usually closest to the division line, or what people like to say, the half court. Right. And there's another thing. It's like there's all these words.
Absolutely.
Over the back. It's like that's not in the rule book.
That's not an actual rule. Yep.
People over the back. It's not in the rule book.
Right.
You know what I mean? So the person closest to the division line or the half court, that person is responsible for the defense. But if I'm 2 feet away from you, focusing on you is not really helping, right? So now I want to get a big picture view, and so I want to look past that particular defender to other areas in my coverage or other matchups in my coverage area, because there may be people cutting. There may be somebody coming to set a screen. There may be something else going on that, of course, the fan who's only watching that, sees. Well, we need to be able to see that, So staring at a defender who's 2 feet away from a ball handler isn't much. Maybe that free throw elbow screen that's about to happen right now, or that free throw line extended screen for your 3-point shooter in the corner. That's more important than staring at a person who's, not really playing competitive defense.
Okay.
So you got to find the defense, but you also have to, if it's not competitive, find something else either in your primary. If you have absolutely everybody just picking their nose, then we got to start finding other matchups somewhere on the floor.
Okay.
I mean, it happens sometimes, right?
Right.
Ain't nobody really playing defense.
Yeah,
You're like,
right.
we just
standing around.
Everybody's just standing around, right? But then there's times where they're actually playing competitive defense. They're trying to deny. Whatever the case may be. So. And
then let's talk about the other official on the low side, on the in line. What is that person looking at and looking for?
So, basically, it's kind of the same thing. So, if the trail has his primary, if he's refereeing the ball and defender, right, doing his job, he or she's job, we kind of have like everything else. Okay. So it's a lot to cover with just 2 people.
Of course.
So like he said, competitive match, I kind of describe it as fires. So what fire is the biggest at the moment that you have to take care of. So if you're in the inline and you got two bigs battling on your strong side,
right,
that's obviously a competitive matchup. Right. That's stuff that we have to watch and maintain and control. Just make sure nothing illegal is going on. Also, people offense in this game is allowed to move around the court, freedom of movement. So if another defensive here, like back in the day when I was taught, you could come around the chrome around,
right.
You could bump them. That
Can't do that now.
Anymore.
Can't do that anymore.
Also, if your partners focus on, like I said, the primary defender and the ball handler, screens that's coming up that he or she may not see coming, screen from the backside or whatnot. You just gotta focus on that stuff to see what fire you got to put out before it gets out of hand.
Okay,
that's kind of how I put it.
If I could add like coverage area wise, and maybe this might help the viewing audience. So the person that's at the trail official, which is usually the one that's closest to the division line.
Yeah, it
could be on the table side or it could be opposite the table.
Right,
whichever one. You're still the trail official. Right. Okay. that particular official is responsible for everything above the key, outside of the key, right? Everything outside the 3-point line, and everything all the way to the division line, and everything all the way to the end line on their side of the court.
It's like an L.
Right,
Like
like
an
the
L,
L. Yeah, I know
on
that.
their side
Yeah,
of the court. So
right.
whatever side you're on, whether it's table side, the opposite,
That's their L.
You take an
Right.
L that goes all the way to
Yes.
the opposite side, and then all the way down to the end line on your side.
Yep.
And so then the lead official is responsible for basically the key, the entire key area, and everything from the free throw line below on their side.
Right.
That
Okay.
makes sense?
Yeah,
So-
no, it does.
and
to
so
me.
those are
I'm hoping the visuals make
those are
sense
the
to
two
them.
areas
Yeah.
that we're looking for. So again, we're looking for competitive matchups in our primary coverage area. We like to say PCA. You know, I'm trying to tell you the word.
Yeah,
before I
no,
give you the
please-
acronym.
yeah, please
so
do.
Before the PCA, we're looking for competitive matchups. So if you have, which a lot of people like to run, right, which the ball handler at the top of above the 3-point line with either 2 screens at the elbows
Yeah.
or 2 screens right above the 3-point line,
Right.
right? But say sometimes you may start with maybe one person's at the elbow, the second one's on the low block, and the low block is the one that's coming up. Well, that low block is usually typically closer to who? The lead, the one on the end line,
Yeah.
right? So you need to kind of watch that person, even though maybe they're not chicken fighting, they're not doing anything.
Right.
But you got to pay attention to them
As
because
they're coming off that stagger
where they're
screen,
going,
yeah.
they're going to go set a screen or do something. Well, the other official, the trail official, they haven't been watching them because they've been watching a different defender that they have to deal with. And so
Right.
that's how we have to work together, because if somebody goes up there and that screener sets a bad screen, that trail official might not have the complete story
Okay.
on what happened.
Okay.
Maybe the lead has watched them and can say, oh, boop, boop, I got your partner.
Okay.
They were illegal. You know, they stuck a leg out.
Right,
they got
right,
their
right,
leg, whatever it might be.
Yeah.
That goes with trusting your partner is going to take
Right,
care
there
of you.
go.
You know, so.
Exactly. And how, and that was the second part of my question is how much does it help you guys kind of knowing who you're working with and knowing it, because I feel like, at least from an outside looking in, most officials start to know each other after a while, especially working
Yep.
around each other, the same events, the same areas and things like that. When you're partnered with like an official, that you're like, oh yeah, I work with this guy. He helps me a lot. Like, we have great synergy, right? That's a proper word, great synergy.
Yep.
How much does that help you guys doing your job?
I mean, I think that's everything.
Okay.
I mean, but it's something that it grows over time, right?
Right.
If you're coming to this and you're new, the only thing only thing we want you to worry about is just trying to pay attention to what's going on the floor and blowing what you see
Right.
as illegal contact, right?
Okay.
Because it takes time
Yeah.
to kind of train you to understand exactly what. Some people pick it up right away and they can just do it. A lot of people, we kind of say, oh, no, not that one. No, yep, that's a good one. No,
Right.
no, no, not that
Right,
one. Nope,
right.
that's a good one. Oh, yeah, that's
Absolutely.
another good one,
Yep.
and then that builds the understanding, the muscle memory of, oh, that's what a foul is. That's what I have to go get. So we're really trying to create a space where we can get you in the right place, we can get you looking at the right things, and then we can get you to trust what you see.
Okay.
That's we really want you to trust what you see.
Okay.
If you trust what you see, and the other person is trusting what they see, and we're in the right place, and we're looking, then we should have enough theoretical coverage. Really not in 2-person because it's a lot going
It
on.
is a
But
lot.
you know what
It
I
is a
mean?
lot.
We have
Yeah.
enough to kind of figure it out. So you understand as time goes on how to kind of move through the floor, move through matchups, and find the things that are going to hurt us.
Absolutely.
So knowing your partner, it helps because, say, I know Vic is, as an example, Vic loves handshakes. Vic will get like 4 handshakes every game, right? And we laugh about these things,
Right.
but these are things that you do understand about certain people, that
Yeah.
they have, they notice certain types of things that are happening maybe more consistently than others, right?
Yes.
Well, then that's important for me if maybe I got a game and I'm like, hey, so, let's make sure that in this particular game, right, that, those handshakes. Because say, I'll give you an example. Say I have, 2 top teams, 2 top teams, right?
Yeah.
And they can get up and down. You know what I mean? They can get up and down. They don't, the contact doesn't impact them in the same way others
Like
do, right?
Vanden versus guy.
Bingo, right? So if we out there saying I'm working with Vic and I know Vic guy, he's Mr. Handshake,
Right,
Like
right.
that's his call, right? I might say, hey, let's be mindful of the hand checking rules. We need to find the ones that are illegal for this game, but they didn't come here to just watch us, call a whole bunch of hand checks.
Of course.
That aren't really having an impact on the game, and so that's why I say it's an art. Like there is the rules and there's what we have to do, but there's also understanding exactly what's happening in the game, and maybe in one game there's a particular contact that's not necessarily illegal for one game, but in another game you absolutely have to get that, because if you don't get that in that game, you're not gonna have a game.
Right. Okay.
Does that make sense?
No, yeah, absolutely
and
to me.
With sport telling me that, I don't get offended.
Yeah. I wasn't trying to say that big.
No.
I get offended. I mean, hey man, what you talking about, man? I call hand checks all the time. No, I don't know. It's not about that.
No, I mean maybe that's your specialty. That's
it's just like-minded, So we do call appropriate to the game, stuff with rhythm, speed, balance, and quickness.
RSBQ.
Yep, my man.
RSBQ.
Yeah, so it's the conversation that we have before games to see how the game's going to go. So definitely, if you know how your partner officiates, it helps out a lot.
Okay. No, this is great. Well, then let's talk coaches, right? Because
our favorite subject.
Yes, of course.
We were wondering when we were going to get to our favorite subject.
We have to. We need to get to this point. So, because I do my damnedest to really, 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 and again, you guys could correct me if I'm wrong, because I think you guys have worked with me enough and seen me enough. If I'm being a hypocrite or wrong or anything. But I really try to do my best to always be respectful to officials. Yeah. I very rarely, I think, get a technical foul. I don't really yell at officials. I don't really, I yell at my kids. I will 1,000%. I will curse my kids out and yell at them, because that's what the parents paid me to do, is just coach their kids. I really try to approach officials. Now, I'm not going to act like I've never, maybe been like, hey, what's going on there? Like, yeah, of course I have. I'm passionate about the game, and I think we can all agree that in the midst of a game, emotions, passion, it all can take over at points. But I really try to check myself and be very self-reflective of you guys and the job you're doing, right? Because there's 3 jobs out there. There's the player, the official, and the coach, right? And I want to make sure I respect the job you're doing, like you guys respect the job I'm doing. But it's very obvious there's not a lot of AAU coaches that come with that perspective. And I guess what I'm trying to ask is, what can you guys say to maybe, okay, let's say a coach and Matt, sorry to throw you under the bus. I love you to death, but just like Matt Johnson at Sakai, love him to death.
I'm going to protect you, Matt.
That's my guy. But we know he's very passionate.
He is.
And some officials have a hard time, I think, dealing with him sometimes, because he is that type of coach that's going to be like, everything. And my challenge to him, because I'm working at Sakai this year, my challenge to him as his big brother, I'm going to say, let's try to talk to the officials. That's my challenge for him, right? Okay. But you guys, I think, have enough veteran knowledge to distinguish the difference, right?
Absolutely.
So how do we help coaches like a Matt Johnson, a fiery, passionate coach, but that might not necessarily be conveying things the right way? What advice could we give him? How could we help him or her, be a better coach communicating with officials?
I think the first thing I'd say is I'm a person first before I'm a basketball official. I would tell you I'm a father, a husband, a son, a brother. I can add a whole bunch of different accolades, you know what I mean, before I get to basketball.
Yes.
So, when I'm leaving home, I'm just going to choose myself. I'm leaving home and I'm coming to a basketball game. I left my 5-year-old daughter.
Very true.
Who wanted me to spend time with her and run around and, okay, let's paint your toes, or maybe I shouldn't have said that, but,
right.
Like she wanted to do stuff that's fun,
that
I really enjoy doing. And I come out to a game.
Yeah.
And now, a minute and a half in the game, you're on fire.
Right.
And I'm like, well, hold on.
Right.
I could have just stayed home with my 5-year-old daughter.
And it's 8 a.m.
I mean, so I think part of it is just is first of all, we're people. Like, we're people first. And there's nowhere, at least I haven't found it in the rule book, where it says, hey, you shall accept ... You know, that's not what the rule book says. Yes. So if we can remember that first, and then I think the second part is try to ask a question, right? See if you can get an answer of some sort, right? But we've all been around basketball long enough, right?
Yeah.
Like, you've been around people that are giving you maybe really, really strong answers, and you've been around people sometimes where you're like,
right,
okay, you know what I mean? I would have liked a little bit more, but
right,
if that's all I got, if that's all I'm gonna get, right?
You accept it, move forward.
You know what I mean? And so it's like, figure out who you have, right? Like, if you have somebody that you can talk to, why don't you try to have a conversation, right? Like, let's not go 0 to 60, right? Maybe if you're with people that you aren't able to have as much of a conversation, then maybe you got to be strategic about when you want to talk about something. But we can't talk about every play.
Yes.
Because if we're that bad, I'm going to be that bad every quarter that I'm here.
Right.
Like, I'm not going to get remarkably better in the second half. You know what I mean?
Right.
I'm going to be the same. And typically, that level of energy doesn't put me in a happy place.
Right.
You know what I mean? It doesn't help me figure it out. And so I would say, if you can, you know, try to ask a question, you know, try to understand that, again, we're people first. Before I came there to do that particular basketball game, I'm a person first. And so if we're willing to give you some dialogue, if we're willing to have a conversation, ask them. Like, you know, let them give you something, you know. We don't referee in the NBA. We're not perfect, you know what I mean? Despite what we might say.
NBA refs ain't perfect.
I mean, despite what we might say, we're not perfect, right?
Right.
And so try to have some perspective on the fact that, you know, I'm a person first, and I'm here giving up my time trying to do this, you know, trying to do the best I can.
I agree.
So,
Vic, you got your perspective on this one?
I follow up what Sports said. You know, we are people, and I mean, Sports said it all.
Right. No, you put it great. It was great.
Know, it's just, we're people. You know, not, you know, we don't, for the most part, we don't come here to say, man, I can't wait to just give Matt teas.
Right,
you know, we don't come wake up to, I woke up. Yeah, man, I got sack high today, man. I can't wait to throw Matt out.
He gonna get him today.
I can't wait to throw Matt out. Right? You know, we don't do that.
Yeah,
you
no,
know, we
I
come
know what you mean.
Late, clean every time. I don't even go off of history of the last game if he whatever, because it's part of the game.
Right. And the thing is, like, you guys know someone like Matt. You know Matt's a good dude. Like, you talk to him one-on-one. He's a great guy. You know what I mean? That's why I just say, like, officials like you guys, you understand you know.
Absolutely.
Like, you know what kind of coach you're doing. Like, okay, I get it. He's being passionate or whatever. Now, of course, there's a fine line. Of course, disrespect and whatnot.
Because I would say that, and I mean, what I would say, though, is one of the biggest challenges we have with keeping people in this vocation of officiating is the communication that's coming from the sidelines.
Yes.
Because I keep saying, we're people first.
Yeah.
And there's two types of people in refereeing. Probably two types of people in all kind of things.
Yeah.
There's the people that said, hey, there's a fire over there. And then there's people that go over there to help try to figure out what's going on, how to put out the fire.
Yes.
Right? So, you know, the people that are saying, hey, there's a fire on there, there's a purpose for them too.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, everybody doesn't have to be down, run over there, let me try to figure out how to.
Yeah.
Some people need to say, hey, there's a fire over there.
I agree.
So I think having some perspective and understanding that, you know, we're trying to do our best, and, you know, everybody's not going to get it right. I did this one time. I don't know if I should say this.
Please
I did this
do.
one time. Nobody breaking any rules. Hope I don't get fired
Please
tomorrow.
say
You know what I mean?
Never.
I love basketball. I really, really do. So a coach was, you know, sport. You know, just every time we coming up, sport. I'm like, you know, coach, tell you what, let's do this. Since you obviously want to help me tonight, you want to help me. Got it. I'm gonna offer you the same help. I'm going to come into the front court every time, and I'm going to tell you how I feel about what you're doing from the sideline and how your coaching system is going on. Cool? So come up there. I'm like, oh, why is he in the game? He's not guarding anybody. He hasn't guarded anybody in 3 possessions. You know? Come back the next time. Oh, that's another turnover by the point guard. He's throwing it away like twice. Like, you know what I mean? Like, what is he doing out there? Right? So you see where I'm going with this. Like, you see where I'm going with this?
React?
Like, any coach wouldn't be cool with us coming up there and having that type of dialogue.
Absolutely.
I mean, after probably the first time, if not the second time, you'd be like, hey, excuse me, Mr. Ref, like, thank you, but
Right.
can you focus on which, right? You tell us to do what we came here to do.
Yes.
And so I just say that's a perspective is that, hey, you know, it doesn't help. And it's not going to make us become a better referee. Now, do we need to be held accountable? Do we need to sometimes have things brought to our attention? Absolutely. Absolutely. But let's just have a little bit of perspective about the fact that if it's on the other foot, you probably wouldn't want me coming up too many times up the floor and helping you out with coaching.
And I think the biggest thing is just respect. You know what I mean? Just respect everybody's position out there. Because again, you know, parents fuel this. Obviously, we're all basketball fanatics. That's why we're out there. That's why I'm coaching. That's why you guys are officiating. Yeah, we're doing a job, but it's a labor of love, right?
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? So, you know, I try to always tell my advice on this show. I've recurrently said episode after episode after episode. Respect everybody. You know what I mean? Respect everybody. And I really, really speak this to parents in relations to dealing with officials, because like you said, you guys are people first. So I always encourage my parents, and I kind of mandate my parents always make them sign a letter. They know, but like always really try to be respectful. Now, of course, you could disagree with a call. Of course. I tell them, have your brief, have your brief moment, move on. You know what I mean? Don't be at least I've had very few of my parents be that parent that's like going up and down the court, talking to the official, like, hey, get this guy out of here. I don't have those parents on my team. It's happened before. Yeah.
It's happened before. Not with any of the teams you've been associated with, but I've seen stuff in games like, man.
And I hold responsibility for my teams. Okay. So the way my kids conduct themselves and my parents, I tell them that, the buck stops with me. So if you are acting an ass, it's on me to get, you are reflecting me. Right. So I'm like, get the hell out the gym or calm yourself down. You know what I mean? And usually those parents don't last long on my teams anyway. So, let me speak from the other side. Okay. Give you guys a little bit of pushback, so to speak. I'm a coach. I think this ref has it out for me. Okay. I think this ref doesn't like me. I think this ref doesn't like my kids. I think this ref is mad at me because he gave me a tech last game, like we just spoke to, Big. What is your guys' response to these kind of things and statements?
I think it's I think a little presumptuous, Now, we're people. Yeah. Like if you push me, right? I would remember that you did that. Right. Like I can't forget that happened, right? But that doesn't mean that we can't have any other positive relationships, or positive interactions, right? But I would always remember, that particular moment. So we remember things that happen, but I would say the more mature refs, and I would say by and large most, they flush that stuff. They're not really thinking about it. Now, your behavior might bring it back to their remembrance. Like, oh, that's what I remember dealing with the last game, and it's back again. Right. So that might be sometimes what it is. It's just, we know that there are coaches that certainly require at times more attention than others, and sometimes those coaches, we don't want anybody, coach, player, fan, anybody, to be a distraction to the game. Yeah. More than anything else, because that's what everybody is really.
We're all paying for our entry fees for, and everything is for the kids in the game.
But we're people.
Yeah.
And so, things happen. We get in our feelings sometimes, and we, feel a certain kind of way about certain things. But I would say, and I'm sure Vic would say, by and large, we don't sit in the parking lot
I 1,000% agree with you on that one.
Dude, let me tell you about the last time I was over. We don't, we show up and, hey, what's going on? Right. What do we got going on? Okay, this is what we need to do, and we get into it. We might bring up the fact that, hey, we have a particular coach who maybe historically has a bit more energy, or is a little louder, or whatever it is. Of course. That's part of being prepared for whatever you're about to go experience.
Absolutely.
And so those discussions definitely take place.
Let me ask you guys this, because you got me thinking of this too.
Uh-oh.
No, this is a good.
This ain't on script. No. This is some extra stuff.
No, do you think it's good? Because I've seen this happen, and I think it's overall good. Like, okay, let's say an official and coach go at it one game or whatever, get a little heated, and that coach gets a tech or whatever. It's just a disagreement, and nothing happens of it. And then the next time that coach sees that official, or even sometimes I've seen in that same day, they go up to that official and say, "Hey, that's my bad. I'm sorry. I was out of character. That's my fault." And I'm talking about the coach go to the official and say that. Not the other way around.
Because we dedefinitely get asked to come.
No.
You missed that one.
No, I'm talking about it's because I actually encourage coaches, because what I do here at YBA, right? Okay. We got like 70 teams. We have
that many?
Yeah, we have 75 teams right now, I think, and about 30 coaches, right? Okay. Me, Coach Shaw, Coach Kenji. We're like the most 3 veteran coaches here. Okay. Right? So, which is weird for me to say, like I'm a veteran coach, because I don't think of myself as a veteran coach. But for real, like a lot of the new YBA coaches.
You make it 3 years in refereeing, you a vet.
I'm sitting here. A vet. So I tell my coaches, like, listen, if you got, a heated exchange or something, go to that official and just say, "Hey, my bad." You know what I mean? Like, and just because I'm around you guys all the time. I've seen a lot of you guys for years. So, it's like, I don't ever want it any weird energy or nothing like that. You know what I mean? I don't want it that way. So I encourage my coach to do that. Do you guys think that's a good idea sometimes for coaches to
it's amazing.
Have a dialogue? Okay.
Yeah, that'd be great. You know what? Everybody knows the Reno Memorial Tournament. Yeah. So I was working a game, and I think it was a YBA. I think it was a YBA team. He had a YBA shirt on. And, he was just pretty animated and asking no questions, just 100. And, just regular technical foul. Bam. That's it. You can't sit down in AAU. I know you sit down. Right. But afterwards, he came up to me. I deserve that technical.
Oh, that's nice.
I deserve that technical, man, And I was like, yeah, it's all good. I have no hard feelings. Part of the game. We laughed the whole tournament. Hey, Vic, how you doing? Sometimes, we promote. We permit. How's it go? We permit what we promote.
What you permit, you promote.
So if we allow that behavior to happen, they're gonna run with it. Right. So I'm not saying we be asked about giving a tech, that's yours. The technical foul is just a regular foul.
Yeah, exactly. Yep.
It should be emotionless.
And it's try to calm the situation down.
We use our tools.
But we, on the other end, do tell officials that if you made a mistake, why not own up to it?
Own up to it.
You know what I mean? Like if you missed it. Look, there's times. This is like AAU or which one is the one where you got to confess something?
You say
whatever the one where you got to confess. Yeah, that one. Whatever the one where you got to confess.
Meetings.
So, the AA meetings. Basketball refereeing a 12-step program. You know what I mean? Like, it's okay for us to say I missed it. There's times where I put air in a whistle and I immediately am like, crap, that's not right. That's not right.
But I could tell you as a coach, I always appreciate when someone has said that to me, or they'd be like, "Hey, Chris, I missed that one." I go, "It's cool." I know. I'm like, "It's cool, man. It's whatever. Plays over. My kid's got to deal with it." You know what I mean? Like that's what I say, but I'm telling you, I think coaches appreciate that a lot when officials are willing to do that. Right. You know what I'm saying?
But we tell them once. Yeah. You can only do it one time a game. Like not every quarter. Like, coach.
Yeah.
This is the first quarter one. I got the second, third, and fourth coming up next. Oh, we're in the second quarter one now. Coach, I missed that one too. But I still got 2 more left, the third and the fourth. Like that's not the dialogue because now
they're questioning your professionalism.
Or your commitment to this vocation. Like, okay, okay, so what's going on? Are we not getting the right position? Are we not? It gets to training. We got to kind of look at what we're doing here.
Okay. So, all right. Well, I want to bring up a couple of things that I want
you. The coaching segment, Vic.
Yes, you guys did it. You guys did it. I'm proud of you.
I was a little. That was going to be the heavy one. I think I can answer any other question now.
I think sports really good at this escalating situation.
I think my questions are pretty softballish. They're softballish for now. Nothing crazy. This will be hardball-ish.
Okay.
I do want to talk just pure common misconception calls that I think having two guys that understand the game, we need to get this kind of cleared out. For one, and you guys, just say correct or incorrect or correct me if I'm wrong. I'm just going to go through my list of things. Let's make this clear for AAU kids and high school kids. There's no such thing as a gather step in high school and youth. Correct?
Correct.
There's no such thing as a gather step.
I don't even know what that is.
Yeah,
I think they're trying to
in the
they're
NBA,
the NBA, right?
The NBA,
They have,
basically the James Harden step back.
You know what?
can't-
I don't pay attention to the NBA stuff.
There you go.
Me.
the rules are different.
Yeah, I
it
know.
used to be called the 0 step. It
The
may be
0
called
step,
something
yes,
different
yeah.
now, but they have that. But then you have the 2 steps.
Right.
So people don't understand the difference.
Euro step is not a travel. Okay.
Depends if you do it correctly.
Depends if you do. Exactly. I was gonna say that disclaimer. Kids, you gotta also make sure you're doing the actual correct Euro step, because I think sometimes parents don't get. And I will be fair to say this: when the Euro step first got to us, it did take officials a while to really like figure out, like, wait, what are they doing? You know what I mean? Because I believe the official rule is you can take the act, or basically what they say, you can take the 2 steps, but it doesn't say which direction.
Right,
take
but
the 2 steps.
the key is, you can correct me if I'm wrong, Sport, and as officials, we have to determine when the player actually picks up the ball.
Mm-hmm.
Once the player picks up the ball and make that initial step, the first step, say it's his left foot, that is his pivot foot.
Okay.
He comes back down on the right, it has to be a layup.
Yeah.
They bring back the left foot, it's a travel.
Yep.
So anytime we determine when the player picks up the ball, the pivot foot can't come back down. That's even with spin moves.
Yeah.
And I'm going to say guarantee 99% of the kids are not athletic enough or
Skilled
Yes.
enough
They haven't mastered that level of
to
craft.
do the spin move correct. Because once you pick it up and you spin off that right, you got to do the layup off the left, but they always bring that right back down.
Yep.
And you definitely, if you have a fast guard, hard to see. But if you have a skilled, a big guy that does it pretty slow, that's easy.
Right. Yeah.
That's easy.
And I mean, credit to the NBA guys who've, like a James Harden, who learned how to manipulate the rule to that degree.
But it's the rule.
Yeah, exactly.
It's the way they allow it to be played at that level. So
Yes.
he's operating within the confines.
Absolutely.
Now, what is coming to high school and has been, and we've got to get better about it, is the James Harden step back in high school, because that's a travel off the rip.
Right.
Like, it's a travel from the beginning.
Yeah.
So,
But
that's
kids are going to
coming in.
emulate what they
and
what they
that's
see.
fine. But
Yeah.
again, at this level, that's why the challenge for us is to be consistent about that, and to make sure that we're training and we understand what that is, so that way we can get that, and we can call that violation, and then be consistent about that. Then they'll understand at the high school level, I got to do it like this.
Yeah.
But then when I get to this level, I could do it like that, and then it'll be clearer, a delineation.
Exactly.
And again, AAU should be high school stuff.
Yes,
So,
I agree with
so
you.
all I mean, no,
You don't say to a degree.
all summer long, in trainings, and if they're doing this move incorrectly, and referee, a lot of officials not calling it during AAU.
Yeah.
One, because especially if it's a stop clock and they're working 10 games, they're not going to stop. It.
They want to go home.
They want to go. All right, so it's not going to happen. So when they get to high school, beep, beep, I've been doing this all summer.
Well, you've been doing it wrong.
I said, well,
But
you've
it's-
been doing it wrong.
You're right.
Right.
Like, they're not lying. I don't
Yeah.
get mad at people when
Yeah,
they say
yeah.
that, and it's
Yeah.
like, well, ain't nobody called it. I'd be like, you're right, and that's wrong on our part.
Yeah, it's
So,
our fault.
we can get better.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then, you talked about it earlier, which I do want to unpack that a little more. Charges, right?
Okay.
I'm in that referee group on Facebook. It's NFHS.
Okay.
I forget the rest of the name, but
Network or?
yeah, huh?
Is it NFHS network or? Is
Yes,
it
yeah,
okay.
NFHS Network. Yeah. So I posed a question up there, kind of jokingly. I wasn't like, people ran with it. I was like,
Hold on, let me
Jesus.
go see.
If you look, yeah.
Sometimes I respond to Chris. Sometimes I
I
don't.
answer this question. Let me see if I can find it.
I don't think I'm that much of a.
No. Sometimes I respond. I just don't like the response to some people. I be
Yeah,
like,
yeah,
this
yeah.
is annoying.
Yeah, no, I get it. I mean, it could get, bro. This comment. Let me see if I can pull it up. But it was. I was watching. I'm a Kobe fan, so I was watching old school Kobe highlights on YouTube, and I don't know if you guys remember. It's when he had Kwame Brown on the team and he dunked on Steve Nash. I don't know if you guys remember that one. It's this one. And NFH's basketball officials,
okay,
right?
okay,
so my question I put up there, which again just got it got so many responses. Even I was like, wow, okay. I guess I said something pretty crazy. Which I didn't think so. But basically it says right here. It says if a player is set, why is it not a charge when the offensive player jumps on his head and dunks the ball? Right? So basically, like I'm saying, okay, we've all seen those highlight dunks, those amazing dunks where, because when I was watching it, Steve Nash was set, and from my opinion, he was in front of the arc, he was set.
In front of the RA?
Yeah.
Okay.
What's RA? I don't know.
Restricted
area. Okay, perfect. So he was in front of the restricted area. He was set, and Kobe, it's one of his premier highlights because Steve Nash went over. Remember his nose was bleeding or something.
I remember this one.
And my thing, and I looked at him like, damn, that really looks like a charge. Now, of course, it's the NBA and it's Kobe Bryant. They're not going to make that call. They are not going to call that charge. It's
entertainment.
Exactly. It's entertainment. But it did make me reflect and say, why is that not a charge? Because I've seen that type of stuff happen in high school. And is it just the momentum of the game? Is it because it's just such a good play? Like, to me, it's like, dude, you jumped and ran this guy.
So I want to make
over.
sure, am I answering this question as a high school official? Am I an NBA official?
High school.
Like, okay.
Because there are high school kids who can do that. You know what I mean?
I agree.
But most of the time, like I saw, if you look at Zion Williams highlights, I mean, he's hammering some, and some of these kids are trying to take charges, and he's just dunking on them, but they're not going to call it a charge. And I think it's the momentum of everything.
One of them, I think a lot of it is courage to make that big call.
Yeah.
That's one.
Yeah,
that's a huge one.
Is it? I mean, I guess the first part of it, is it a charge or is it just if he makes any contact with his head or torso, even though he dunks and jumps and dunks it, is it a charge or not?
So the key is was the defender established? Was he in legal guarding position? Going back to what I said earlier, 2 feet, on the ground, torso, facing the offensive player. Was that all those check boxes, were those checked off before the person took off?
Okay.
Right. So if all those boxes are checked off before they take off, high school doesn't have an RA. It doesn't have a restricted area.
Right.
You can literally be standing
under the basket.
Yeah. I hate to say. And it can be a charge.
Okay.
So long as the defender establishes and maintains. Now, here's another part, which is maintain. So the maintain is you can go side to side or you can go backwards once you establish.
Okay.
Legally.
Right.
The only thing you can't do
is go
forward.
Right.
Which is where a lot of fouls that we call that people don't understand.
Because you're impeding the progress of the player,
you're
right?
You're taking your body into a ball handler and meeting them. Again, if you're established, you can go side to side. It's not a problem, but you can't go into them.
Why? And that.
That makes sense.
No, it does to me. No, absolutely.
You can't move in a forward direction, and that's
absolutely.
a lot of times where that's where the fouls a lot of times
because you can't move laterally. Because like you said, if the guy's coming and you as a defender can kind of calculate that trajectory and you take that one step over, get in position.
Once you establish the legal guarding position,
right.
Once we, as referees, we run to our spot and we're funding the defender.
Okay.
Right, and then we're like, next is like, okay, is he or she in legal guarding position? Once that happens, we know the 3 things they can do.
Okay. All right.
Side to side, backwards, or obliquely. The only thing they can't do is move forward. The only thing they can't do to slide if the shooter's already airborne. Of course,
they gotta let them land.
You can't slide under after they're airborne. But if I'm there and the offense player's here, I take a step to the right. They hit me, through the chest or whatever. By rule, you don't have to be that way, but
right.
If they make that contact, by rule, supposed to be player control.
Does a player have to absorb the contact with their body, or are they allowed? Because one thing I heard, or that I've acclimated to my players, because obviously I teach my kids to take charges. I start teaching them that typically around 7th grade, 6th, 5th. They're a little too young. I don't want them to hit their heads, get a concussion, right? So I introduce taking charges usually around middle school age.
Okay.
What I kind of do, and you guys correct me if I'm wrong, I tell them they can kind of have a strong forearm there to brace some of the contact. because a lot of coaches, I think, we teach it where, they just standing right there and they take all that hit right in the chest. Well, as a coach, I don't want to see my kid get hurt. So I kind of tell them, like, you can't obviously have your forearm extended out, but you can, you can kind of have it up to
brace.
To brace and protect yourself. That's the term I use, brace. So is that correct, or am I wrong on this one?
No, you're not wrong. I think the key, right, when you're talking about, taking charges is, as a coach, is like, do you want a good defensive effort to be rewarded or not? Right. So typically, I would imagine you would say, yes, I want good defensive effort to be rewarded.
Yes.
Right? Clearly, if he's there and he's established, person goes right through, right? Not just to them, but to and through them. Absolutely, it's player control. Player control isn't a rule, but we call it charge. Right. If they go to them but not through them, well, that's not a player control, right? But then you also have I'm there and I'm trying to avoid you, and I clip you in a particular manner. Again, I would say, as a coach, if your guy or girl, whoever it is, they get there and they're established and they waiting, and the person is trying to avoid them and hit them and take them down, well, would you not want us to put a whistle on it? Right, because you're rewarding somebody for doing it the right way, right?
Yes.
For establishing legal guarding position, maintaining, and not doing anything illegal, right? So, yes, you do want to take it in the torso, but we can't get so focused that it's like, well, if I don't see the contact right here, then it's not a foul. But it's like, well, no, we need to really referee the defense and see, well, were they established? Did they maintain? I mean, that person's trying to avoid them. But what did the defender do wrong? Nothing. Okay, well, send it the other way. Right. Ship that. And I would think if we're consistent, coaches will see that, understand that, and go, I get it. Like, you guys aren't tripping. The issue is obvious ones seem like we having a lot of discussion on,
right,
and not on ones where, okay, you know what, could have went maybe blocked, but it could have went charged. But I kind of understand why it's a charge, because they actually were there enough, or they got there just before.
Do kids, athletes, do they have to fall for it to be a charge? I'm speaking more. This is for, again, the audience, so they understand the rules, right? Because essentially displacement of the defender would be the charge per se, but most people, obviously, commonly, the common eye, the common fan, the common person knows typically charges you're falling back, right?
Typically you are, but then again, it depends on who's taking the charge, right? Who's the defender, who's the offensive person, right?
Like if Shaquille O'Neal's trying to take a charge on Allen Iverson, he ain't gonna fall back.
You see the point I mean? There's times where it's not just you got to fall, because the person may be bigger and can absorb the contact in a way where they don't fall, but they move back. They're displaced. They move off the spot that they legally established.
And usually when that happens, the offense travels after that.
right. Yeah, they get exactly.
Yeah, it could be any one of those things. So typically, yes, you want to go to and through the torso, but I also say that it's not only about finding that mid spot in the middle of the chest, because the reality of the defender is set up and they're legal.
Yeah.
And they haven't done anything that would attribute the contact being attributed to them. I definitely can't call block.
Right.
Because the coach is like, well, what is that? It's like, it's like, what answer am I going to give?
Exactly.
So, maybe this is a no call, depending on the type. I mean, it's hard without seeing a play.
Yeah,
maybe
of
it's
course.
A no call.
Yeah.
But if everything's met, sounds like you can send it the other way.
So for coaches, if you're listening to this, parents, if you're listening to this, kids, if you're listening to this or checking it out on YouTube, remember, legal guarding position. That's the immediate thing that you have to establish before we have any other talks about the types of charge, or if it wasn't, just focus on that first. That's my tip for you guys.
Let's get that. He's moving. It's not set.
And that's another myth.
I know he's moving. That was the last part. I know you guys hit. He moved. It's like he's allowed to move. I say it in my head like he's allowed to move laterally or backwards, but that's why this show exists.
Did the defender establish legal guarding position first?
Yep.
If that happens, a whole bunch of other stuff don't really matter,
right?
Because they've met their burden of proof, right? They've done what they were supposed to do, You know, now again, if they're sliding or they're leaning, there's
or
other
falling
things
before contact.
You know, there's
right.
things where it's like, oh, well, you were there, but I mean, coach, he was halfway down to doing a Macarena before. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
Like, if that happens, then you know you didn't maintain.
But at least now there's a baseline, right? A first.
You got to establish. You got to have 2 feet, torso facing the offensive player. You have to.
Perfect.
That's the rule.
So out of bounds. Not when a basket's made on a.
We have a spot throwing, designated spot throwing.
Yeah. There's always that misconception that they're literally not allowed to move their feet. Can we speak on that one, fellas? Because I'm a kid. I've dealt with some officials who didn't know. They didn't know, and I knew the rule. But again, I just was like, fine. What I said to him was, I really strongly suggest you talk to some veteran officials because, you know, my kid, he inbound the ball, and, you know, I told him, you know, take a step back to get an angle because it was at a gym where we just didn't have a lot of room taken out. So, you know, I was like, just go a couple steps back so you can get it past the defender, right? And the official was like, no, you can't do that. He has to stay right here and he cannot move his feet. Word. And I was like,
he said word.
And I'm sitting there like, okay, like, you know what I mean? Like, what else could I can't argue with it. So I'm just like, sure, okay.
You could have asked the question. You could have said, excuse me, Mr. Official, are there any occasions where he actually has the ability to move?
Good advice, because I probably should have asked.
This is why I always say, like, if coaches ask more questions, you know, it'll help elicit either responses from officials that you can go, okay, now I understand where they're thinking or, you know, where they're coming from with this information. Or you can say, okay, they don't have a lot for me, so they're probably not going to have a lot for me, you know, when I have other types of concerns, right? You know?
Exactly. And you
should give you some perspective.
Yeah, and it honestly, it helps me coach my kids because then I know how to make the adjustments or whatever. But wanted you guys to speak on that just for the general audience. What's the rule about them when they can inbound the ball or whatnot?
Designated throw-in.
Designated throw.
Yeah. So we basically have two types of throw-ins, right? You have the one where you have a designated spot, and then you have the one where we like to say that you can run the inline, right? Because you're never running on the sideline. Right. Like that's never, you know, if you see that, then that's, I mean, now it's not traveling.
Right.
Because you can't travel when the ball is actually out of bounds. It actually has to be on the floor with the court. Anyways, so that's not traveling on the sideline, okay? So they basically get a step to the right or to the left, and they can go back and forth as they need to.
When they have the ball in their hand.
Forward and backwards.
Not
what I mean.
like when the official gives them the ball. Right. Okay.
They can
normally
go.
it's a 3 foot.
That's why we say generally a step.
Generally like a step.
You don't Chinese typewriter all the way there.
Yeah,
one step.
Not the MC Hammer.
Right.
Just a step one way to the right.
But like if you're trying to get an angle to pass the ball in, right? They can
you take a step.
You know, step.
Now it's not one of them, you know, drop steps when we do it in practice right before the game. It's not one of those, right? I mean, you got to keep it relative.
Right.
You got to you have a spot.
Right.
So you don't get a space, a box. You have a spot. So it's a step to the right, to the left. You can go backwards and forwards as you need to.
Right.
If it's a designated spot throwing. Okay. If you can run the inline, then you know do what you got to do.
Yeah, because this is why I want them to know. Couple more goaltending.
Oh,
this is one I've personally had to deal with some officials. I'm going to say this scenario just so people understand. Because you know you're dealing with high level athletes, more athletic athletes. Certain teams got some crazy athletic kids going for a block.
I like it.
Perfect. Thank you.
I already knew. I had a feeling. I'm like,
They're
gonna talk about goaltending.
Yes,
slapping the backboard.
You get slapping the backboard. Now you knew this was like. Because I've had, especially in AAU, you know, you get some really high level athletes. I'm glad you guys have it, but coaches, every year I download off the Kindle app, the NFHS. So coaches, I also recommend that as well. If you can't get a hard copy, download the NFHS book and check it over. I mean, you're not gonna read every single page, but obviously get the points of emphasis. You know, rule changes if they make them. Like that's my suggestion to you guys. But moving forward with that. Yes, goaltending. My kid goes, tries to block the shot, ends up slapping the backboard. Not enough force to make the backboard move, but obviously, trying to go for a block and slaps the backboard. My guys have been called for goaltending for trying to do that. I know that is not goaltending. I know that. But I just wanted to talk about it on this show while it's here.
Okay.
So,
I'm gonna read it out of the rule book.
Yeah. Goaltending and basket interference is two different things.
Yes, if anything, it's basket interference, right? But
no.
No,
I'm gonna read.
Okay, well, you guys,
please,
you guys correct me.
I want to make sure that everybody can hear what the actual rule book says, specifically. And this is Rule 422, Article 1, page 35 in the rule book. Article 1: goaltending occurs when a player touches the ball during a tap or a try for goal while the ball is in its downward flight, entirely above the rim, with the possibility to go in. That's the definition. So it's got to be on. It's downward flight. It has to be above the rim, and it has to have the possibility to go in, which is somewhat subjective,
yes,
right? You know what I mean? But
of course.
Obviously, if it's way over here, you can't be like, oh, that's go. Clearly, that didn't have a chance.
Right,
So
right.
it's somewhat relative, right? And so, based off that definition, right? If you lay it up on the glass, and I go to block it, and I miss it, and I make contact with the glass, what's the issue?
Yeah.
Or just simply, if you lay it up, and I like to call it volleyball spike it, right off the backboard, right? Because sometimes every once in a while you get one of those in game,
right?
Ooh,
yeah, some athletic kids out there, like I said,
and he volleyball spikes it. It's not goaltending because that's college and the NBA, where as soon as it touches the backboard, you cannot touch it.
Because, well, let's be real, their bodies are so, what I mean.
But that's their level.
Yes.
That's where people, when you watch TV and you come to your a youth game, you're like, oh, the rules are different.
Right.
At that level, you can't touch it.
Yeah.
At the high school level, you can absolutely touch it. Yeah. Now, if I'm saying if a player's laying it up on the right side, and let's say your player is on the left side, and he slaps the backboard.
Right.
It's a little harder to convince me that you were actually
trying to block.
You see common sense, right?
Right.
It's a little harder to convince. But I don't know the intent of your player. You know what I mean? All I know is I saw a ball being laid up, and I saw a player coming from behind, making an attempt to block the ball. He doesn't get the ball. Yeah. And he hits it on the backboard. I can't say for sure I know that your player was thinking, oh, I'm about to go hit this backboard as hard as I can, and I'm about, you know what I mean? How do I know that that's what's going on in your player's mind? So we can't go there.
Right.
All I can judge is, I can look at what happened and say, oh, he laid it up. There was an attempt. Again, it doesn't meet any of the other criteria. We don't got no goaltending.
So is it just a no call then, or
it's
what?
Nothing.
Okay.
Just keep playing basketball.
So then, what classifies as basket interference?
Oh, happy you said that, because I was going to read that one too. Because I just want to make sure people can hear it directly from the actual rule book. Yes. It's not like, oh, he just said off top. No, I'm gonna read it to everybody so everybody has it right. And so this is Rule 4.6 on page 29 of the rule book. Basket interference occurs when a player touches the ball or any part of the basket, including the net, while the ball is on or within either basket. Right?
Okay.
So again, so that's different. Remember, the first one was if you lay it up, it's above the rim, it's on a downward fly with a chance to go, right? You got all these. This one says if it's touching the rim or any part of the basket, including the net, while the ball is in there and you touch it,
basket interference.
That's basket interference. The other one is if it touches the ball while any part of the ball is in the imaginary cylinder, which is basically the basket all the way to the ceiling, right? So it may not be touching the rim, but if it hits and it bounces straight up, and so it's in the cylinder of the basket, and you go up there and touch it, then still basket interference.
Okay.
That makes sense?
Yeah, to me it does. I mean, I
read the definition, so I didn't make it up. This is exactly what they put in the rule book. So.
No, that's so. Hopefully the public is hearing this and understanding this when you guys check this episode out. So then I want to talk about playing defense. Because obviously with the rule changes in basketball, and this is
the new one in high school that's coming?
Well, all of them on it. Okay. Well, just all the I'm referring to like basically back from 90s, 2000 to today, you know, just how the game's adjusted, the physicality. I'm not going to get into it's softer, blah, blah. I'm not going to get on that shit. We do know, and we can all agree that, you know, the game has become more offense-centric, right? It's especially at the NBA level, because that's a show. You know what I mean? There's a reason the scores are 139 to, you know what I mean? Like that's just what it is, right? And you get that. That's a business. With high school and college, it is more free flowing, freedom of movement, right? Being the term. So this is where I say coaches have to be coaches. You have to adapt to the way the game shifts, right? There's a reason like why Coach K and Calipari and all those guys could stay on top for as long as they did. They adapted to the game. They couldn't say, nope, this is the way it is and this is how it, like you don't have a career if you do that. You know, you have to adapt to what's going on, right? For instance, we know we're going to see way more three-point shots nowadays than 10, 15 years ago. Steph Curry effect. We know
everybody's shooting.
Yeah, you can walk into a 5th grade boys game, you're going to see at least 20 threes. And you're like, you can barely shoot a layup. Why are you doing this? Like, you know what I mean? You just know that's what it is. So I'm saying, like, on the defensive side, from my understanding, right, guy has the ball. He has his cylinder, right? And, of course, I'm trying to do a quick culmination of it. Defender, you're allowed that one hot stove contact. From there, you have to release contact.
My hand checking rule?
Basically.
Hand check rule, right? No, there's no more hand checking. It's gone, right? But I'll be real with you. I teach my kids to walk that fine line, right? Because, you know, I'm a defensive coach. I want my boys to play. I tell them, get in their jersey. But I tell them you do have to walk the fine line. Make your contact. Active hands. I think you guys will hear me yell that 20 times a game. Active hands. Let the ref see your hands. You know, because I teach them it's hard for the officials to call a foul if the officials can see your hands in the air. It's very hard for them to call a foul on you. You know, move your feet. Obviously, everybody, move your feet, move your feet. We all say that stuff. But, you know, how can kids play defense aggressively without fouling? That's kind of the...
By moving their feet.
Okay.
That's I was a defensive player.
Right.
Anybody that knows me, when I came up, if I could get my paws anywhere around it, I'm probably going to get my hands on it, and I'm probably going to knock it out your hand.
Right.
In some way, shape, or form.
Right. So
it can happen, but what I see is I don't think players have the same pride in the discipline or the honor in saying, you might have scored on me, but boy, it was hard, wasn't it? You know what I mean? Like you had to work for it. Like, okay, yeah, you got your 20. But how do you feel right now?
Took you 40 shots.
You see what I'm saying? Like how physically, how do you feel? How's your mind? How's your body? How did that 40 shot? It took a lot out of you, right? Which means you might not have given your team everything you could have gotten because of the work that you had to do. And we don't have the passion anymore. We have the glamour of stealing or dunking.
Right.
So that's what everybody's always trying to focus on. Instead of just play good defense. Just move your feet. You know what I mean? You ain't got to touch nobody. Just move your feet. I mean, like I said, show your hands so that we can see it. I always say, I might think that's a foul.
Yeah.
This, it's very hard for me to think that, you see what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah.
I can see these. These, you know, depending on, I might move and, you know, something might happen. So I think that's the biggest thing I always try to tell players is actually move your feet. Like, actually take some pride in saying, you know what, I'm going to guard you. And I'm gonna make it hard for you. You might score on me. Because, again, you play basketball long enough, you can't stop people.
Right.
Some people you run up against, it's like, look,
you slow him down. That's all you can do.
He can go.
Yeah.
I mean, like,
right.
She can go.
Do.
I can't do nothing. But it's the pride in saying, every time I get out here, I'm going to make it hard for you.
Right.
And I just don't see people doing it that way. They want to use their hands.
It's the highlight culture, man.
Especially when you're athletic enough. That's why I'm really like, you can actually move your feet. Like, you can actually move your feet.
Right.
Why not do that? Why not prove to somebody that, hey, you can score on me, but hey, you gonna have to get this work.
Right.
And to your point, in terms of playing aggressive, there are rules that we have that rewards good defense. We have in the boys' game, closely guarded, right?
5 seconds
within 6 feet.
Yep.
You got 5 seconds to get rid of the ball or whatever the case may be. And then I never understood this on the girl side in high school. They don't have a 10-second backcourt.
Yeah, you're right about that.
But their shot clock is 30 seconds. So if these girls would just play defense in the backcourt and move their feet, and don't get them past the division line, by the time they get to the division line, they probably have 5 seconds left to put the shot in.
Really?
But what they do, they'll grab and hold and reset the shot clock and all that. If they just play discipline and move their feet, they won't have much time. They'll probably get a shot clock violation every time.
And that's what I'll teach my kids, be arm's length away. That's what I always tell them, be arm's length away, because, I tell them, I say, listen, if you the referee isn't going to have a measuring tape and measure 6 feet as you're,
But
as
the
you're
rule
playing.
book does tell us what
True,
6 feet is.
True.
Yeah.
It does.
It does.
You're right.
Like I said,
but
we be inconsistent about applying it. You know what I mean? But it does say from the front foot to the front foot of the offensive player, that distance. I mean,
No, I
it gives
totally
us
agree.
it. We just be like, I don't see it.
Exactly. And that's why I tell my boys, get your hand up, be arm's length away, because again, I try to eliminate arguments, right? That's my philosophy. So it's like, it's very hard to dispute with me if my kid is 6 foot, if he's literally like this playing arm's length away. But like, because I'll say, can I get a 5? Are you counting 5? Like I'll say that to it. All right. Because sometimes I'll just see him standing there like this, right? And my guy's up there playing defense. And when it's a dead ball, I say, excuse me, are you counting 5? Like I say, because you could be counting in your head. I don't know.
And it's supposed to be a visual count.
And I'm like, I don't want to assume. I don't want to disrespect you. So, and they go, well, okay, you're right. I'll count 5. And then they start, you know what I'm saying? Because, again, I try to eliminate the interpretation part, basically. That's what I try to do. So, but, I did want to speak on that, because I think as coaches, and I know the term coach is relative in AAU sometimes, because let's be real, sometimes it's just somebody's dad, sometimes it's just
hanging out. Y'all just
yeah, sometimes that coach word is sometimes relative. But for the guys who I think are really passionate, like myself, I try to teach my young kids how to play defense without fouling, with moving their feet, active hands, yada 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 yada. But I just wanted to hear from you guys from the official standpoint. And you being the hand check guru, so
I don't know where sport acting from, man.
just an example, y'all. It was just an example, man. I could pick on myself next time.
Last term before we move on to other stuff and all that. Elephants and ants. You must
have been talking to an official, because you coming up with all kind of phrases that
Great terminology.
normally
I read the book, man. I actually do read the book. I read the book. I've attended the classes. Tet be trying to get
probably
Tet be trying to get me the official. He's he is literally like, Chris, you need to go out there. I was like, no.
You probably would do a decent job, to be honest, because of your understanding of the game.
Right. Well, again, that's
what it's supposed
that's
to look
why
like.
very, very, very rarely, and most can ask, whether you hate me, like me, love me, I still think most officials understand, like, when they deal with Chris in the coaching capacity, he's not going to make my job very hard. He is going to challenge me if I'm wrong on something, or if he sees something. Like, yeah, I'm going to have some questions, but I don't think I'm very rarely going to get on the officials. I'm always going to get on my kids. That's my job. Get on them. You know what I mean? This is the only reason I really want to bring up elephants and ants is because I want to advocate for bigs. I was a guard, but in high school, before I was a guard, they put me in the post because I was one of those guys got a little tall early, right? But I'm skinny, right? I'm a skinny guy, getting my butt kicked, you know what I mean? And so I know that world, right? Being a big, being a a Shaquille O'Neal, Hakeem Olajuwons, the Patrick, just getting banged up, beat up, and still night in, night out, just doing your thing. And, just so your audience understand what I refer to when I'm saying elephants and ants, right? The bigs are what we would call the elephants, the bigger, stronger guys, your post guys, right? I know nowadays there are no post players. Everybody's a three-point shooter. But
I was about to say
there still are some old school bigs out there who play big, right? Back to the basket guys, right? And your ants are your guards, your little guards, things like that. And obviously the role is we don't want the ants to necessarily get an advantage over the elephants, right? The bigger guys. What are some things you guys look for when you see these bigger guys get a rebound or post up and they're trying to establish themselves? Because a lot of times for parents of those bigger kids always feel like those guys are getting picked on. You know what I mean? And there is less of them, right? So, you got this huge sixth grader, right? I'm sure you guys have seen this abnormally big sixth grader or fifth grade. You know what I mean? And you can tell he's gangly and uncoordinated, and he's trying his best. But, that kid often sometimes breaks down crying and stuff because they're like, and I coach it, it's like, I'm not foul. They're like, I'm trying not to foul him, coach. I'm just standing here. I don't know what to do. Like, speak to that parent. Speak to that kid. What can they do to help themselves? You know what I mean? In the midst of a game or things like that.
Again, this is something we can improve on. We do have some opportunity to let the bigs play big. Kids, definitely it's our responsibility to referee the defense. Right. So that will solve all our problems if we referee the defense. So no matter how big the kid is, if the kid is doing everything legally, I don't know why we put a whistle on it. Because it looks funny. A big kid jumps up vertically. A little player, small player,
just boom, bounce off him, right? And the crowd always freaks out.
Objectively, that looks horrible, right? But you got to ask yourself, what did he do wrong? Absolutely
typically, when I've had fouls on bigs, it goes back to what we talked about with legal guarding position. Typically, when I have most of my fouls on bigs, it's because they're going forward into the contact. Typically, when I have whistles.
Right.
So I'm not going to talk about nobody else's whistles or my whistles now.
Of course.
It's because they're going forward. Otherwise, I'm not calling something on you if you're in legal guarding position, you're going vertical. I'm not doing anything. Now, I would say something that bigs probably are guilty of more than we penalize them for is displacing another big who's legally standing there just playing defense, trying to post up or
they just like drop
chest
their shoulder
up, like y'all
him.
like to say, chest up. Right. That's the new thing I learned. Chest up. Like, oh, what does that mean? Put chest on him, I guess. So when they're trying to chest up, right, and then the big is just either with an arm, a shoulder, whatever, just knocking the person backwards. Well, that's a foul.
That's an offensive foul
on the offensive person, right? And so, like Vic said, we have to find the defense. Stay disciplined to watch the defense, because again, I get it. This old shiny orange ball. It's like the most amazingest thing that you just can't not find. And we have to be disciplined. Everybody's watching the ball. We have to not watch it, and then that way we can see that play completely, and then actually determine, okay, did the big actually do anything, or did they just stand? Did the guard, who likes contact, right? Because we have guards that like contact.
Yeah.
Like, did they go in there and go jumping their body into that particular person, or did that person come forward to do something? Again, when I've had fouls, it's typically because the big is coming forward.
Right.
Otherwise, I think sometimes what Vic is saying, we just don't have the same whistle discipline or eye discipline when it comes to staying with the defender.
Yeah.
I use this stupid analogy. I always tell new officials or whatever officials that I train, imagine that each defender and offense have a hula hoop, like a hula hoop around them, right?
Yeah,
like a little circular thing.
Right.
It goes from your foot all the way to the ceiling. Both of them have them. So whoever breaks that barrier, most likely the foul's going to be on them.
Okay.
So if I have a little circular device that's around me going to the ceiling, and I'm the defense and I break through that and I make contact with the offensive player, who made that illegal contact? The defense.
Right.
If I'm the defense and I'm playing vertical straight up and the offense come in,
yeah.
who made that contact? The offense. So it's like sports said, it's just being disciplined and not anticipating, oh, this is gonna look bad. I'm gonna put and then you ready, exhaled and the whistle going and the kid did nothing wrong.
Yeah.
And you're like,
because the tougher plays are those, we call them A to B plays, which is when a person is jumping in the air and their momentum is taking them forward, even though their hands are in the air because they love to say, I'm vertical, but you're running into them and you make contact. Those are more difficult plays for us to referee, right? Well, if we're better about just refereeing a basic post play and making sure that they're not causing illegal contact one way or another, then those A to B plays that are happening on fast breaks and all these different times, maybe we'll be better about them, or we'll maybe get more of an understanding ear from the coach. if we have a difference of opinion on it, meaning if we put a whistle on it and the coach thinks we shouldn't, or we don't and the coach thinks we should, whichever way, it might be, there may be a little bit more understanding if we're showing a level of discipline with just the basic body contact, right? You know what I mean? Then now you might be like, I didn't think I might coach, hey, he went to A to B. You're like, I didn't think he went to A to B.
Yeah.
We may have a difference of opinion, right? But we can move
that's
forward.
okay.
Right,
Exactly.
we can move forward.
Exactly.
But if all game long they're knocking each other and I'm not having whistles, well, then when I tell you that, I don't think there's a foul, you're like, man, there's absolutely benefit. Like, you don't even trust what I'm saying because you've been watching other stuff, and it's like you haven't been putting whistles on obvious stuff. So you can't tell me now in a one where it could go either way that I'm supposed to be on your side and trust that you are doing everything right to really see that particular play.
Because and I mainly speak to this because I have a 5th grade team, right? And I got 2 really big 5th graders, like really big. But one, I love Jason, but he's pigeon-toed. His knees go inward. He runs awkward. So he's just that awkward 10-year-old, right? That 10, 11-year-old. But he's super tall, super big. He plays football too. So it's like I just want to speak on this part because I don't want those kind of kids to get discouraged from basketball because it can happen. They're like, I can't play what is my strength like I can the guards. Because that's when bigs all of a sudden become envious of guards, right? Because they're like, well, they can go to the line, they can dribble, they can flail on the ground and throw the ball up and all this stuff. But if I just turn and just, make a hard dribble sometimes and I'm just sheerly bigger than the guy next to me and he just falls, I get called for a foul. Like, I know that's not what's always happening. But you got to keep in mind it's a 10-year-old's perception. So they just be like, I don't want to play till everybody else gets bigger. Like, they literally is just, I'm cool. I'm just going to stick with football. When y'all catch up to me, now I can play.
Back, you know what I mean? Now it's fair.
Right. And so that's mainly why I want to talk about this point. So,
I think it's something we see. What I don't see bigs do enough. What I don't see, my referee hat on. Yeah, jump straight vertical up in the air. Like, if you're a big kid, you get even bigger when you jump straight up in the air, especially when you try or when you don't try to block the ball. Right. Just jump straight up in the air. Make yourself as long as possible.
Like them highlight blocks.
Yeah.
but you'll take yourself from being in legal guarding position. You'll jump vertically, right? Which the rule book says you vertical floor to ceiling. That's your space. You jump vertical, right? And then what? You should go to block it. You know what I mean? Like, you did everything right. And now you're going to go try to block it instead of just make them shoot that shot over top of you. Make them throw up something that happens to magically go in. Have them do that 10 times a game. I don't think they can, right?
You're right.
But instead, you jump up and then you go, and now you try to block it. So now we call a whistle, and you're like, and I'm like, why did you move your arm in that direction?
You did everything. You did everything right to that last second.
Yeah, you were fine. You were fine. But again, there's this. It's the being recognized for stealing the ball or blocking the ball. There's always this desire to have to be recognized for something instead of just being disciplined and appreciate. Like, when I was taught, like, the trap is not for the people who trap to steal the ball. It's for the other people, the next pass, the next. So you just supposed to stand. You're not supposed to try to steal the ball. You're supposed to just protect it and prevent them from seeing a good pass, because when they throw it, then your teammate goes, "Thank you, Deion Sanders." Now we're going to the, you know what I mean? Yep. But we don't see that enough anymore. And now we got extra whistles, and so coaches are frustrated. Oh, I'm just trying to trap. I'm like, then tell them to be disciplined. Yes. Tell them just to come over and just to try to make it difficult, not trying to steal the ball, because that's what they're doing 90% of the time, is they're trying to steal the ball.
Absolutely. Vic, do you have anything to add life for that? Or okay.
Sport covered, man.
I do, man. I be worried, man. No.
He's a crew chief.
That's perfect. We need that.
He's a crew chief.
And you've had me before. I don't know if you had me before. Like, I will communicate with coaches. I'm gonna come over and give you an answer. I'll explain it to you. I'll tell you what it is. I'm not gonna give you a whole bunch of fluff, but hey, that one right there, they didn't really establish. If they do next time, then I got you. Like, I think this is part of what helps is us getting better. But I wasn't always like this. I wasn't always comfortable with having dialogue. One, I had to learn the rules. Yeah, that helped a lot. Right. Once I learned the rules, like, I got something to say. What do you got a question, coach? Right. I got an answer. Right. And it builds something in you. So then now you're not afraid of that dialogue. And once you're not afraid of that dialogue, now you can actually learn how to do it right.
Well, that's why I created this platform because I want people to tune in. I'm in SAC or wherever, we all are on basketball community here. I want people to, go, oh man, did you hear that episode? That talking with Vic and Sport, man, like they really broke a lot of things down I didn't know. You know what I mean? Like you might have just helped somebody in the middle of Sheboygan, Wisconsin, who didn't know about the goaltending rule. You know what I mean? You might have helped someone like that. And that one coach, now it trickles out and more people learn. So that's the biggest thing why I'm glad you guys are here, because you can help hopefully some of these people understand your guys' perspective. Right. The big the last thing I wanted to talk about before we move on to the other segments is how well, you guys can speak on if you do it, but how do we encourage more to get more officials? How do we encourage to help some of these younger officials and things like that? Like one thing I can say I hate, and I'll just segue to this momentarily before you guys answer that, is I've heard coaches be very disrespectful to female officials, and I've personally heard it, and I don't like it. I've cursed out a few coaches, like straight up in the game or after the game. I was like, don't fucking talk to her like that. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's no place for it. So let's try to do better in that. That's just my, my PSA, my, like, can we please try to respect everyone out there? You can disagree with a woman official, and her gender does not need to be brought up. You know what I mean? So that's just my side comment. But how do we get more officials wanting to do this and, trying to keep them encouraged and stuff like that?
I don't know. Maybe we do the Jerry Maguire thing. Show
Yeah. Do you guys think officials need to get bumped up?
I definitely think pay. Because I'll go back to what I started earlier. I said, we're people first. I'm a father. So as a person, a workman is due his hire, right? Yes. You want to be paid adequately for
your time,
the time and the work and the sacrifice that goes into this. Okay.
Absolutely.
And so, I think, pay would help, but I don't think it's only the pay. I really think we need to reach out to, younger folks, especially people who have played high school or college and now you're not.
Yeah.
Like, you still love it because you probably want to watch it all the time. Yeah. You're at somebody's house why not come out to the game and actually find a way to give back? You might find that you actually appreciate it. It actually, at least for me, it kept me close to the game. I had the, I'm not gonna talk about a lot of highlights, but I had the fortunate opportunity to referee the Ball brothers. I did the last game, the high school game that they did at Arco, their last one. Nice. They was undefeated that season.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
I've had other games that were more exciting and things like that, and I'm not like, oh, the ball. Being out there,
just the energy
was like, ain't no better place to be than right here on the floor right now. I mean, I'm sure the people in the gym were like, oh man, this was exciting. For those of us on the floor, I don't even know if I was walking. I was just like skating in the air. I mean, there was an experience. And when you're seeing certain types of plays that happen and you're on the floor seeing them happen, it's just like, ooh, wait.
And we're getting paid to watch this
like
up and close best seat in the house game, right?
Nice.
I mean, we can't do this, but you know how when somebody get dunked on, they be like this. Sometimes I'm gonna be like,
I know.
He just got you.
You look at some of those plays, you're like,
damn. I mean, it's like, again, we're still fans as well,
yes.
Right? Like, we just take a different perspective. You take the bench, parents take the stands, players sit next to you, we on the floor. You know what I mean? Like, we all just have a different perspective, but we're still trying to do the same thing, which is to create an environment where the players can play, the coaches can coach, and the fans can enjoy the experience. And we can leave without you almost even recognizing that we were on your game. I mean, you do kind of,
had to add that in there.
you recognize refs because it's like, I mean, like it ain't a big community of us, right? Yeah. But the greatest feeling is to be able to come in there, leave, and it's almost like nobody noticed me. And I'm like, I did my job.
Yep.
And everybody's like, man, I enjoyed the game, and
yeah,
cool.
That's it, because that's all people were talking about, the win, the great game that it was, and that's it. Yeah.
And that's. But again, we play a part. We play a role in that as well. And so we need more officials, younger officials especially. We definitely need females. I mean, again, there's high school have boys and girls, and where are all the females at? Because they definitely don't come back. So we definitely need to kind of renew that. Colleges, junior colleges. I mean, there's an effort, on our part to really kind of create our outreach and increase, while we're here on this platform, to increase the space to kind of say, hey, I'm just a regular person. I just happen to have a different perspective, and I happen to have a different value that I bring to the game of basketball. You might have the same value. I didn't want to do this. My mom tricked me, sort of. I mean, she didn't exactly trick, but she kind of stalked me until I was like, if you don't leave me alone, she's like, well, just referee one time, and then I'll leave you alone. And I'm like, if that's what it takes, I'll referee one time. And then like 2 minutes in, I'm like, I like this. She's like, see, I've been trying to tell you. And I'm like, Mom, that's beside the point. You know what I mean? So, I mean, you don't know until people get in it, but I can assure you, it's probably a lot more enjoyable than you think. And if you have an opportunity to get some training, or, you know what I mean? You don't get lost in the shuffle. You get around folks that are going to help you. They make the experience so much more enjoyable.
It's like the first step, if you guys would say, like the first step, well, it's just saying, hey, you wake up and you're like, I want to try it out. Do you think they should like go to a rec level first, or start with younger kids, kind of work their way up, or a combination of
depends.
Like,
it depends. Okay. You can wake up one day and go AAU and say, I had somebody that did AAU, I'm never coming back.
Wow. Okay.
And I was like, what happened? They're like, this coach is on me. I said, I'm sorry. I don't say I'm sorry. Right. So it definitely depends. There's different opportunities everywhere. I definitely would suggest, if someone knows, sport, like just
I'd say contact the NCOA. That's one way to go,
right?
And you can go to the arbitersports.com, and the NCOA has a sports tab out there on Arbiter Sports. That would be one way. I would say, if you see an official, speak to him and say, hey, I'm interested in getting in this. Do you know who I could speak to kind of get me going? You'd be surprised. Like we would love to bring more people in.
Right,
you know what I mean? But we're not gonna go walk up to you like, okay, which one of y'all in the stands now?
Yeah, of course.
You was talking. You kept talking about the double dribble, and I didn't get the angle, and I know that was a foul.
So why don't you come?
Why don't you come out? You know what I mean? And when you ask people, they're like, no. I'm like, well, you were so helpful during the game. You were so helpful. Why not come out here now, and help us get better, right? And so I think getting younger folks, I think that's really, we definitely need. We've had. I was telling Johan, I think it was earlier, right? Yeah. Johan, sorry. My bad, bro. I'm going to get it right. I don't like messing up people's names, and you could chop this part up.
Joe is cool as hell. He ain't tripping.
Joe. I'm going to call you Joe because it just makes it a little bit easier. But, we need the people that have been doing this for a while, have been doing this for a while.
Right.
COVID knocked out a whole group of people who were doing it, but then found out, well, you know what? I like going to the Mosaic on Friday night.
Yeah.
I like going to, you know what I mean? Like, they found other things that they were interested in, right? So now it's like, well, why do I want to come out there and get yelled at on a Tuesday night? No, I don't want to do, right? And so they stepped away. And so we've lost a lot. And then look, this society, right?
Yeah. People
are less patient. They're less tolerant. They're less empathetic. They don't. You know what I mean? So there's a lot of factors that are kind of playing a part in this. What we need to really be reaching out to these former players at the high school level, at the collegiate level. People you hang out with. Maybe somebody who loves to talk basketball to say, "Hey, man, why don't you just come out and try it for a year?" Because I tell people, if you try it at least once, it will absolutely change your perspective.
Because shout out to.
Larry. Ted again?
Well, I would say Ted, but Ted, Larry,
Lawrence
Foster, because all the shit he talked all those years, and now he's an official.
He gave it to me a lot.
Exactly, all the shit he talked. I was like, Larry, don't think we forgot about you, but he's actually learning and doing his thing, man. Big Jim, all those guys. Mo, I've always enjoyed Mo when he was officiating me, and Bob. Yeah.
Bob Goblin?
Yeah. So shout out to you guys holding it down.
Saying all the OGs. That's why we need some new G's.
I know. That's why I know.
Some young G's.
And that's what I'm working on my end, because I do that. I actually, when some of my former YBA kids are, done playing college or whatever, and I'm like, they're like, yeah, I'm just working and stuff like that. I said, well, but they're like, but they tell me like I still want to be involved in basketball and stuff. I said, look, officiating's, the door's always wide open. Like, of course you can coach and train and whatnot, but I said, but officiating is actually a pretty good gig.
Summer ball starts at $25.
Yeah.
And it's mostly 25 to 35. There are certain assignments, leagues, tournaments, whatever, where you go up to $50 a game that you can get. And this is in the summer. This is in high school.
Yeah.
When you get to high school, at the sub-varsity level is what, $68, $69? $69 for one sub-varsity game, right? And at the varsity game, it's $80.
No, it went to $97.50.
$97.50
Wow.
for a varsity game,
I
right?
did not know that.
Right. So the people don't realize, they be like, oh, ref, you think I'm doing this for $15? Like, all this hollering and screaming and stuff going on? Right. And so there's a little, and now we talking about college, junior college. So if you go to college, you're talking about you're at least starting at, 135, 150 at the junior college level. You get up to the Division II level, you're talking about, 230, 265. You get up to the Division I level, you can start up as low as, 650 on up to comma checks.
Yeah.
Like,
you can make a career out of this.
There's money in this now, and we don't want this to become your only life, and you don't have balance because but there's opportunity here, and you can make a little change. You completely control your schedule. If you look, I don't work on Saturdays, I don't work on Tuesday. You can do that, and no one's going to hold that against you. And just say whenever you're available, and they'll work around that. I don't know too many jobs that are. Pay you, let you have complete control over the schedule whenever you want.
Right.
You don't get that control.
It's
from
the most work, highest paid part-time job you
ever had. But you got to be great at the start of the game and get better as the game goes on. Right. That's the only kind of caveat to being a referee, right? You know what I mean? You got to be like really good from the first quarter and become amazing by the end, and then everybody goes, "Oh man, you a good referee." It's like. It was a lot of work.
No, man. This is great. Anything to add left to that for you guys? I'm gonna move on to some of the hot takes going on in the world right now in basketball. Let's
do it.
All right,
we talking about burner phones? What we talking about?
No. We're gonna talk about. Hold on, let me.
I wasn't ready to talk about.
No, I got to get my right side in effect right now. So let's talk hot takes. Let's segue a little bit into the NBA. Ja Morant just got his consequences for his actions. I think it was a 25-game suspension. Yes. Mm-hmm. I'm assuming you both know what Ja did. And unfortunately, it's just kind of something I've been bringing up recently because at the end of the day, man, we're all brothers in here. We're black men. Like I'm tired of seeing our younger and younger athletes just making dumb mistakes. I mean, we've all made dumb mistakes, and we didn't have camera phones back then, thank goodness. But it's just, I don't know. It's just starting to get sad and out of hand. You got like Mikey Williams, who allegedly, I have to say the word allegedly on this show for legal purposes, but allegedly pulled a gun out at a party and shot at some people and is now facing potentially 5 years in prison. And he's 17, 18. Got his scholarship pulled, deleted all his social media accounts because obviously doesn't want to deal with the backlash of scrutiny right now. You have Ja Morant, who, by his camp said he had a fake gun. It was a fake gun. He was waving. Like
there's a difference.
Yeah. I'm just, putting the gun out on IG Live. I just don't know. Fighting and punching a high school kid, and that kid's, allegedly punching that kid, and that kid's ready to sue him. And it's just, I don't know, man. It's just weird. Some of our younger and younger athletes are just making a lot of bad decisions. You could say Zion Williams and his decisions with his female company. That's
probably happening a lot.
Let's keep it a buck. Athletes are gonna do their thing, but it's like, bro, be a little smarter, please. It's just, I don't know, man. But it's just younger and younger. You know what I mean? Absolutely. Zion's 22. I think Ja's 22, 23 years old. Mikey 17. It's like, man, it's just getting harder and harder, worse and worse. Do we blame the people around them? Do we, just the pandemic of it all? It just seems like an epidemic of our athletes, and especially our young black athletes, aren't making a lot of great decisions right now.
No, it's tough because all communities need leaders. All communities need examples. Those examples are going to come from a lot of different places. Sometimes they come from the right places, maybe certain professions or certain vocations. Sometimes they come from the wrong places. Oh, my homie. Oh, so, trying to provide a perspective to help people understand that everything that you do hurts somebody's shield. And I say that because when I was growing up, my parents always say, "Boy, what's your last name? If you do that, then they're gonna be taking that back to right." You had to rep, so I had to be mindful. Like, family. Okay, well, I don't do nothing because this name means something, right? Right. Well, it was no different when I was on a sports team. It was, it's no difference when I'm at job. It's no difference in any walk of life, right? We have to understand that, being a melanated man in today's world, there's a badge, and everything you do has an impact. Now, you don't, answer all the calls and dreams of everything, but at least for the space that you have in life, for the what they call platform, or for the space that you have, why not try to do something that's worth something with that space? Why not try to say, you know what, man, I could do this, but I could also do this, and I think at some point in time, we can speak up and try to say, okay, the people around him. But at some point in time, like you were taught right and wrong when you was little, right? Yes. At some point in time, we all know when we're doing something right or wrong. It's a choice that we're making, and we just have to be mindful that every decision that we make is impacting somebody's shield, and that shield might be melanated people. That shield might be your school, your AAU program, your family, whatever it is. It's impacting something. So let's try to be mindful of that.
Absolutely. What about you? Got anything, Vic, on just your outlook on all this?
It's like it was a toy gun. It wasn't real good.
They gotta just take accountability. It's just like sports said. They are taught. It's a choice that you make. You have to deal with it. So he had that. I'm not saying he got slapped on. That 8-game suspension was pretty.
It was a slap.
It was a little slap, right?
Yeah.
It was like oh,
it was a slap, and then now it's 25
checked into
games.
Some little thing about his I need help. Mental thing, but then he come out, I'm ready.
Right.
And then and then he come back and
Does
toy
this.
gun, whatever the case may be, toy gun. It just doesn't.
What I will say though is I think mental health is something that is an issue in the community that is just not talked about enough.
No, I agree.
And that plays out in a lot of different ways. There's a lot of traumas that everybody is dealing with or hasn't dealt with or is ignoring that play out in a lot of different ways. And I think sometimes what you're seeing is just maybe men saying, "Hey, I just want somebody to take a moment," you know what I mean, and just to be here for me, or to pour into me, or to be something for me until I can be it for myself.
I mean, that's why I think it's amazing what LeBron's been able to be in the league as long as he has, and no major controversies, no, you know what I mean? At the end of the day, that's incredibly impressive. You know what I'm saying? I'm like, you can be a fan of him or not a fan of him as far as on the basketball court, but overall, come on, man.
He's been a great
example.
Just example of a professional athlete, a human being, respectable husband, anything, great father. Who's an
unapologetic advocate of his beliefs, what he thinks. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know, man.
It's not an easy line, right? No. And athletes are asked to walk this line every single day. Like no one's coming to your job talking about, "Hey, wait, what do you do? Wait, don't talk about that. Don't, no one's on us like they're on them, and they have to, the scrutiny.
I can only
attention,
imagine,
right?
man.
Like you get to go to the store, ain't nobody
Yeah.
following you over
Yeah.
to the grocery outlet or
Right.
Winco, or
Yeah.
I mean, you get to go. He can't go to the grocery outlet.
He
or
can't
Winco,
do
you know what I
nothing
mean?
normal,
Like
nothing.
He at the house, like so he has to be so hyper sensitive, and I think we all need to be, right? Life pans out a lot of different ways, but we all just be mindful of that you're an example for somebody, and it may just be the person next to you. You know what I mean? It could be that little kid that you just refereed, right? It could be the little parent that you know what I mean, that's got another kid, and,
Right,
and
right.
he really shouldn't be a parent, but he's a parent. I mean, you know what I mean? Like it might be anybody.
Right.
So let's just try to be mindful of what role we play and what role, what way we can kind of be an advocate for what's right.
You think after he serves this 25-game suspension, you think he's going to learn his lesson? What do we think about that?
I know financially this is hurting him financially.
Yes.
He's ready since he's missing those games. He's not going to make All NBA. That's extra bonuses, all that.
Gilbert Arenas said it on his show. He said, "Oh, take that money away from him. He'll shape up. He'll turn around."
That's the only way.
Yeah, that's the only way. So you know what? I never look at things that happen to me like, oh, why is this happening to me? The mistakes I've made, I always say it happened for me because it makes you better in the long run. Whatever mistakes you made or choices that you made or whatever the case you may call it, it happens to you for a reason.
And again, and for me, I hope, just putting it, I think I said it last show too, but I hope he bounces back and does learn from. I think we all do. I think we're all rooting for him, but it's like he's got to understand what he has in front of him. He's got to understand what he has in front of him.
Definitely got to show his. Now his words don't mean nothing right now because he said that. His apology statement. He has to actions. But I'm rooting for the man. I'm rooting for the young man, and I believe he'll. I think he'll wake up. Hopefully.
Wake up, everybody.
You're losing.
My bad, man.
No, you're fine.
His father needed to be like, "Yo, what are you doing?"
Yeah, I know, right?
Like
I don't know. It's just a weird circumstance. On a more positive note, Denver Nuggets won the NBA championship. Can they do this again? What do you guys
Absolutely.
think? I think they can too. What about you? I'm a Warriors fan, by the way, so just so y'all know.
They got a fresh coach that's down. You seen them at the parade?
They used to be the Kings coach.
Right.
Kings coach.
Could have been the Kings parade.
Right.
But anyways.
But hey, Mike Brown did a good job.
I'm just saying.
All those guys are young and under contract. So
I know.
As long as there's no injuries, and they're going to be tough.
How crazy is it though? Like a guy like Jokic. So what I find fascinating even more so with Jokic, and this is just kind of circling back with him. This is my last NBA topic, but I think it's just cool having you guys to see this perspective, because you guys got to see this. So it's just what I'm going to. So like with European basketball, overseas basketball, and what they teach out there, right? If a kid is very, very advanced, like a Jokic, Ricky Rubio, Luka Doncic, all them, do you guys know what they do with the more advanced kids? They play them up.
Okay.
They say, oh, you're 14 years old, you're 13 years old, you're 15 years old, you're killing it. Oh, time to go play with the grown men. You know what I mean? Like I had Paige's son on the show, Andre Stojakovic. We talked about that. He sent during the COVID, he sent Andre to Greece to play against the professional national team all summer long. He had only played his first year of like really super competitive AAU last year with the Compton Magic. Yeah. Prior to that, he had him playing against professional athletes.
Okay.
Right. So that obviously geared him ready for that. In our AAU culture, though, in our basketball culture, we're doing the opposite. We are holding back our kids. If a kid is killing it at 6th grade, what sometimes we see parents do, oh, I'm going to put him in 6th grade again, or oh, he's killing in 8th grade. It's really bad in 7th and 8th grade, like really bad. I'm talking there's 16-year-old 7th graders out there. It's pretty bad. Huh? Yes. Yeah, it's pretty bad. I'm telling you, especially at the top level. So I'm taking my 6th grade team to Ohio for the national UA tournament. Oh, so nice. Okay. We're going to
I think I heard this before.
It's like 40 minutes away from Cincinnati. Is it Rock Hill? No, not South Carolina. crap, I cannot. Hamilton.
Hamilton.
There. So we're going there. If I showed y'all videos of some of the kids that I know we're about to go against from like Team Trill and Austin Select and all, I mean, these kids, they not 12. Let me just put it like that. They are definitely not 12. And I don't know, in America, we have now this weird basketball culture of when a kid's really good, let's hold him back for a year or 2 years and all this crazy stuff. But right now, arguably one of the best players in the NBA, being Joker, he's actually very young. He's not, even though he looks kind of like a 30-something-year-old, trucker, but he's actually, I think, like 24 or something like that. He's really young. And he's been playing against adults and professional athletes since he was like 15 years old. So I don't know. Is that the right way to do things? This trend of holding kids back, it doesn't yield a lot of positive results. It's not like you look at the top NCAA players; they're all like these holdbacks and reclasses. That's a proper term we use, reclass. Yeah.
I'm saying they hold them back so they can. I want to understand why they do it so they can get scholarships, or
that's supposed to
because once they get to that next level, they're back at the bottom. It don't matter how old you get. You're going to be 16. You're going to get some older guys. So I don't know how.
I don't understand the logic either.
I mean, my guess would be it's about opportunity, right? They figure if there's only so many bites of the apple, right, to give you the best opportunity to get the biggest bite, then if I know there's other people who take really good bites of the apple that's in the same contest you're in, well, maybe you might want to play against these other people who don't bite the apple as well.
Right.
You know what I mean? I guess that's the thought behind it. But again, the message, right? The message that you send.
Sport's more important than academics.
Yeah, and so then once they get to the fixed point, once you get to finally where you're supposed to be, I'd almost say you're a little behind.
You're right.
Yeah, I mean, because you were ahead at first. But then you hold back, and then by the time you get there, well, then you're behind because these people
been
doing what they've been doing, playing at higher levels, challenging themselves in ways that you haven't actually been challenging yourself. And so, why people do it? I mean, I guess until you have a conversation with them, speculation. It's just, it's something that I would just ask people, like, it's, look at the long term impact. Are you seeing other people who went through that same situation who've had really positive outcomes? If so, then okay, maybe that's something to look at. But I don't know if we really spent time thinking about it that we'd find that many really good examples of people who went that route and it worked for them. Yeah. There are always people.
There's always,
but you're not gonna find, it's
not like a mass group of people.
Yeah, it's not that went that way. It's just one here, one there, and there's always some circumstance or some reason.
Let me ask you guys: when you guys are officiating, and I know you guys have probably seen it. I mean, obviously you can't do anything about it. I just really wonder what's going through your guys' minds when you see these older kids playing against younger kids, and it's obvious the coach is cheating because that's what it is. It's cheating. You're got a 6th grader playing in a 4th grade division. You know what I mean? Like, and of course you guys are going to officiate the game and whatnot and do your job. But what do you guys think about it, just personally? Like, when you're in there. You said what?
I must have been born at the beginning of January. That's like almost a year. No, I don't know. I mean, I don't think I ever blamed the kid because the kid's not the one making.
No, it's not the kid's fault at all. No.
I think my thought always has been, coaches will, we always talk about wanting it to be fair, right? And if we care about wanting it to be fair, then, why not why do anything other than just allow life to be what it's supposed to be for people, right? Yeah. You can't fast track them a particular way, and holding them back definitely isn't allowing them to get the things, the resources, tools, whatever it is that they know. Like, just let them play. Like, like you're gonna lose sometime. You're gonna play against somebody that's bigger. Referees want the game to be fairer, a lot more, and we look at things like, and I'm gonna just say it because it's just like taboo. Like, why are you pressing when you're up by 40? I mean, you know what I mean? You know, like,
yeah, no, I agree.
All of this comes into the
Totally
vein
agree.
of, like, you know, you're on me in the first quarter about a hand check, and you're saying I'm not keeping it fair, right? But you're up by 39 points with 10 minutes to go, and you're literally pressing them like it's 0-0.
Yeah.
You know, like, how can we look at both of those situations and say, oh, he's right, I need to get on you, but oh, you know what? It makes sense for me to do this. You know, that's where it's like, well, let's all have a little bit of perspective and just know that, you know, we're all out here a part of this thing. Let's try to do what's best for everybody involved, which most importantly, it's the little people. Like, they only got a short window. You're going to be coaching for however long you're going to coach. They got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, whatever the number of years, they got that, and then it's over.
Well, that's what I was saying. I think it's this mentality in AAU, unfortunately, where it's like win at all costs, you know, and it's become a dollar sign for a lot of trainers and coaches, and I do have to say this in terms of I'm in a unique position because, well, you guys see where I'm at. I'm kind of in an island out here, right? You know, I'm kind of in a middle of nowhere. You know, it's hard.
I had to put GPS.
Yeah,
in
exactly.
To find
like
out
I'm. So it's like I do always try to keep in mind that perspective. Like, I'm not worried if a couple kids leave because they don't necessarily like the way a coach coaches, or not that I want any kid to leave. I really that's my customer base. But obviously, I just know I can't make everyone happy. We know we can't do that. So I don't have to have that mentality of win at all costs, because unfortunate side effect of if your team loses a lot, typically you'll lose players, right? Because they're like, well, our kids are losing, you must be wrong, right? As a coach, you're wrong. Not that, I very much tell my teams and my parents, we are going to lose a lot before we learn how to win.
Right.
That's why it's called wins and lessons. We're going to learn a lot of lessons before we start getting the wins. And I have that talk very early when I get my first in my teams and stuff like that. So they kind of know that. That's why I would say most of my teams stick with me. But I always try to put myself in the lens of the other guys, the independent team, where you only got 2 teams, 10 kids on each team. Let's say you got one really good player and the rest of them are kind of average, mediocre. Right. That one good player starts getting annoyed because, man, we're just losing and you guys aren't keeping up with me and blah, blah, blah. So then what happens? Usually a bigger program or a program that's winning snatches the kid up. Now you're kind of stuck and starting all over. So, you know, I don't know where the end game is. There's just this win at all costs mentality to the point where it's like I have to play older kids in younger divisions to get a win, to make sure I don't lose people. I just don't like it. That's just, I ain't got no big metaphor about it. I just don't like it.
I would say referees, you know, and again, we're there just to referee. So we really try to think about it a lot, but we want the game to be fair as well. And trust me, we take no enjoyment out of seeing a person who's clearly older, grades high, whatever you want to say it, just dominating, you know. And then really, if they're doing it in a way that doesn't show a level of humility, then it's really like, well, hold on. Like,
well, my thing is, how does that help the kid?
You could easily be dominated. Yeah. You clearly are. And now you gonna let everybody know that you dominated? I mean, you know, like why add all of that on top of it? And so that's, again, I'll go back to, you know, I think in life, a lot of people are dealing with a lot of things. Yeah. And we don't talk about stuff. And so we think that, oh, if I can get over on you, if I can beat you, if I can win in something that makes me feel a certain kind of, that brings some sort of gratification to you. And the reality is that means there's something inside of you that you need to work on, right? Because you got to get you right first, because then you can handle all the other stuff, disappointment, whatever. So,
okay.
I don't know. I mean,
no, it's great. Like, Vic, did you have anything to add to this on that one?
I thought Vic was going to talk about my pet peeves and what I like to call all the time. You know? He didn't pick mine out, so I appreciate that.
No, No, you guys are hanging in there. I appreciate that. I'm glad you guys are hanging in there. I told you that we talk. We just that's how it is. My last point before we get out of here, the last thing I wanted to talk about was obviously, I'm sure you guys have seen videos. I've seen videos. I've talked about it on numerous occasions of parents, coaches, officials getting into physical altercations, fights, just straight up fights. Man, I myself have never been in that situation, and I pray I never have to be because I just don't want to personally. And I don't think it never needs to really come to that. You know what I mean? Honestly, like, again, we could disagree, but it's just, I don't think it has to come to, especially when we're there for the kids. You know what I mean? It's just the message. That's just not the message I want to send to the kids I coach, nor my program. I just don't want that message out there. You know, I'm just curious your guys' thoughts on it, you know, right, wrong, and different. Obviously, to me, it's all wrong. You know, parents, officials, and coaches, we don't need an adversarial, combative atmosphere.
It doesn't help anybody.
You know what I mean? Just your guys' thoughts on all that.
We've got to find a way to kind of come together. I'm always of the mind that referees are always going to be looked at as the bad guy,
the villain,
regardless of whatever we do, right? Like, you can walk up, slap me in the back of the head, and then I turn around, you know what I mean? And I do something, and they're like, ooh, look at the referee. I'm like, well, ain't nobody saying nothing about the fact that he slapped me. You know what I mean? Like, so I'm held to the standard, but not everybody, you know, not everybody else. And so I go back to what I started at the beginning. We're people first. And I don't think there's ever anything that positive that comes out of, you know, negative interactions between, referees and coaches. I've never got into a physical. I've been challenged. I've been, you know, I meet you at the parking lot after the game. I mean, I done heard a lot of stuff. You know what I mean? You know, but I never had to deal with that. But it's real, you know. And I just say to people, like, we're here giving up time because we care. And when the referees stop caring, like really stop caring, and we don't ever want to, but if they ever thought, then what do you have? You don't have youth sports. You don't. None of this stuff happens.
1000% agree.
It doesn't happen. And so, I don't mean you got to, you know, walk me into some king chair and let me, you know, here it comes. No, but it's just like I'm a part of what we're doing here too. You know, we there's all these roles, and we got a role in this play too. So let us just do our role. You got a role. You a fan. Like, you know, you get to cheer. You get to do all kinds of stuff. Let us all just do our part and understand that I don't ref in the NBA, and if I did, you probably wouldn't be seeing me refereeing. I mean, you know, you probably see me at your son or daughter's game right now. So yeah, I'm probably not as good as those people. So, like, you know, you don't want to come do this, but, you know.
But you can't complain about it.
Right, it's like, come on, let's have a, you know, I get it. If I'm stinking up the place, I understand frustration, 100%. And sometimes we have tough days as referees. Sometimes we have a tough game. And it's like, man, I need to get through this because I'm just not seeing it. It ain't clicking like it needs to. But by and large, like.
And to be fair, I don't think this is the majority of the basketball community or nothing like that. I think majority. And again, you guys can give me your perspective. I think the majority of the basketball community is good. I think the majority of the parents, majority of the kids just want to come in, play some competitive games, have fun, and go home. I think that's the majority. Again, Vic, if your experience is different, you let me know. But I think that's the majority. But I just, you know, speaking on just the violence of it, you know, because you see those videos, you see and it's just it's sad to see, and I don't like that for basketball.
Like you said, internet's everywhere, and it might be embellished a lot because they show more of the negative than positive stuff in the internet world or social media. But I just realized that, like sports said, we're human beings too. We don't. And a lot of us take it serious. Like, we go pay lots of money to go train and
because you guys get to train, or, you know, typically take the training, the classes.
I mean, that's the minimum for our association. But if we want to go to that next level, we go to camps, and some of those is $400, $500.
Yeah, you're investing in yourself, right?
Investing in yourself to get better and come out here. We don't come out here to, for the most part, I don't think we come out here to say, I'm just going to go just be lazy at this game.
But we understand that not every referee is going to always give,
of course,
110%. We should. Excuse me, sorry. But it just doesn't happen.
Yeah.
And it and parents see the difference between officials, so it's just, and I think with the, like Sports said, with money, I think the AAU programs that have tournaments, I think they need to support officials more.
Yep.
It's not, and I tell new people or whoever do AAU, great, do it because you're gonna get reps,
right?
You're gonna see plays, but just realize at some point, it is the fan base, the customers is the one that pays the bills. Mm-hmm. So, especially if you have a YBA program, I'm not saying you guys do it, 75 teams come to a tournament. That's a lot to their bottom line. If we discipline that program, other than just, maybe moving the referee to another court, then bringing them back. It's just, and I try to explain that, like, you got to understand that, so definitely all money, as referee, all money's not good money. We are independent contractors. We select what we want to do. I say for the most part, you don't see me that much at Hardwood or places, because if me and Sport do work 1 or 2 games and we're actually working,
a little tired,
doing it the right way,
right?
Unless I want to go to Hawaii one day, maybe I'll kick in some more games. But
Hawaii was cool. I was there earlier this
year.
Right.
It was solid. But it's just, I think more support with these AAUs, if they support the officials a little bit more and show that it's not tolerated, I think it will be more security.
We've got to be better too.
Yeah, absolutely. We have to be better.
We got to stop doing the whole I'll take 10 games,
correct,
each day, and that. But again, this goes back to the numbers are low.
Yeah,
and you're trying to pull blood out of a tournament.
And we need officials.
We need officials. I don't think we need officials, whether they're young, they're old.
Yeah,
we need you.
Yeah,
so many tournaments on the weekend. Like, people don't understand.
Basketball is so big now. I mean, think of our area, just Sacramento.
They don't understand that they're getting the referees from the same pool. Like where they just go drop out of the sky. I have a tournament coming, and then another Yellow Jacks will throw their tournament, and then another, like, where you guys think these officials are coming from? Like,
same pool. How
can you? Either these tournaments got fixed specific dates where we can throw tournaments, or they got to somehow work together, And
do you guys think? Well, do you guys think like a place like Hardwood Palace? Should they hire maybe like? Because I've thought of this, and I've seen it at like really, really big events. I mean, you see it even at the high school varsity games a lot of times. Like hiring an off-duty cop to work as security.
There's
and
consequences
things like that.
in high school.
Yeah, of course.
Sportsmanship is not
true. So I'm just saying, if they had a presence like that in the building, do you think that would help, or it just kind of just is incumbent upon everybody working together?
I don't again, because I think the impetus behind why people are reacting the way they're reacting is not because there's not an officer standing right there. Like, their behavior is going to be their behavior regardless. Now, they probably might not, try to fight the referee.
Be so quick to it, I guess.
Yeah, right away. Like, they might, walk around.
We still got to walk to our car.
Yeah, exactly.
Let's wait till.
Right.
But so I think there's that, but it's just, again, we live in a space now where people don't take the time to think about things from someone else's perspective. We only look at it from what it means to me, how it makes me feel, how it impacts, whatever that is. We don't say, you know what? Let me try to look at it from their perspective. Coaches, right? I'll come and tell coaches sometimes, Sport, what happened? What did you see? Right? Because you saw something.
Right.
Well, let's talk about that. Like I mean, you know, like I need to take your perspective in on this particular matter because you saw something, you trying to relay, you know, something that might be something important that I need to kind of process, right?
Yeah.
So we all are part of this ecosystem, and I think the sooner we kind of realize that, you know, it'll be better. Or you know what you should do? Have the AAU programs throw one tournament a year where only the parents get the referee.
That's a good idea.
Like I just came to that right now. Like
That's a good idea.
One tournament,
and the referees could.
The referees could cheer and be.
Nah, because I just think it'll take them one time, right? Being in our shoes and having their peers, you know, the people that you sit up in the stands with and say something. Now have them people saying something. You know, I think it don't take much until people start realizing, hold on, like let's have some perspective here.
One thing I suggest, or I always suggest to a lot of the newer coaches or younger coaches, or you know, coaches, just if they have a real passion for it, right? I tell them, you guys should go to some of the officials' trainings. You know what I mean? Like, go pay the money and sit in and actually absorb and learn, because you will see the game in a different perspective.
It'll make you a better coach.
Yeah. And you'll coach the game in a different perspective. Like, some of the same rhetoric you're yelling, you know, without that information, now you probably won't, because you're like, you see what they saw and you're like, you know what, they're right. My kid fucked up. It had nothing to do with it. And then now you're going to take that kid aside and correct the kid, what you're meant to do anyway, right? Because you're supposed to coach the game. So, you know, that's my.
Or at least the question you're going to ask the referee is going to be a better question that provides better dialogue that's relevant to the game that's happening right then and there, if that makes sense.
No, absolutely it does. Want to give my. I appreciate you guys being here. Yeah, thank you, man. I appreciate it. Vic, Sport, thank you guys for being here.
Absolutely.
Did you guys have any shout outs real quick, or anybody well, I want to shout out Ant for arranging all this and making all this happen. So shout you out. A big shout out to you, bro. You guys got any shout outs or anything? Let it say it now.
First time being on a podcast. Shout out to everybody. Like they're my mama.
Yeah, exactly. There you go. What about this?
I just want to say thank you for giving us this moment, for giving this opportunity. Again, you know, Vic and myself are very excited to be able to lead this group of officials here. We definitely want to, you know, add resources, training, technology, but also the coaches' point. We're angling, hopefully at some point in time this summer, to be able to have like a coach referee summit.
Nice.
Where we can sit down and kind of discuss the state of the game. You know, we're both stakeholders in this. You know, what role do we both play, and how can we make this thing better? So we're just excited to be here, man. If you want a referee, I assure you, we'll make it as exciting as you could ever imagine it. You know that it would be. It's a fun time, and we try to ask perspective. You're a person first, and so we try to start there. Like let's treat you like a person. We just gonna now teach you, you know, how to do something. We're gonna teach you a skill that now you can apply if you want to.
Right.
You know, whenever you want to.
Perfect. Well, I will have links to their IGs in the description. Again, if you stay to the end of the episode, you're a real one. Do that HBO special. Hit that subscribe and like. Help me out with the algorithm. It'd be really appreciated if you're listening on the audio side. Thank you. I know Johan, shout out to him and all the great work he does. We're going to get some good clips. I think we got a lot of good information on this show that will hopefully go pretty viral. So next episode, I will be having Bobby Jackson. You know, shout out to him. Congratulations on the job with the Philadelphia, the Sixers. So I'm excited about that. Again, thank you guys for taking the time to be here.
Absolutely. Thank you, Chris, for having us here, man.
Oh, anytime, man. Feel free to come back if you want to. Have a part two.
I just might.
All right. We are out.
Signing off.